after you make that.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board wants to provide ample opportunity for public comment on matters that come before us. Your input is important. If you wish to address an item already on the agenda, we ask that you do so when that item comes up for discussion. If you have a comment on a matter not on the agenda, this is the time during our meeting for such comments. The board would like to remind everyone in attendance that to avoid violations of individual rights of privacy, a member of the public wishing to address the board during this time will not be allowed to make comments about any student, staff member, or member of the general public. Does anyone wish to speak at this time?
My name is Nancy Marks. I'm from the newspaper, Montana 43 News. I would like to address the board about a mistake I made in the paper. I think that Jason's going to talk about that tonight. We did make a retraction, straightened it out. I really appreciate you coming to me and telling me when I make mistakes. I really appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is when people in the community talk about the paper, what a poor job it does, and they don't come and tell us what we're doing wrong. I would like you to keep in mind that there are 6 of us working all week long trying to put this out. We have 2 paid people, the rest are volunteer. So we're trying very hard to make this happen. That's number 1. Number 2, we desperately need coverage of high school sports. It's like pulling teeth to get somebody to turn that stuff in. So if you know someone who would and could do that, I would really appreciate it. Photos, of course, are very important, but a little story would be great. Number 3, as I talk to people who are putting out local newspapers, they say, what are you doing about reporters? What are you doing about people who are trying to cover local news? I don't know, there's just nobody out there. So they say, well, grow your own. So I would like to approach Susie first, of course, but then the board about integrating a journalism program in one of the regular school things for the high school, and then we would love to have internship. We pay, and so we think it would be a really nice mix. And I intend to get a proposal out to Susie about that, and we hope that you will look kindly on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay. Do you have any other correspondence items?
Oh, just some fun stuff. I just want to say thank you for all of our staff and the families and all the kind notes that we get. I know the further you get down the road, and sometimes it's hard when there's a lot of challenging things going on, and there's we're solving problems on the daily as administrative school leaders, and so it's just really fun to get fun things like this. Just a thank you to our fearless leader, and just fun little notes, and sometimes a banana bread loaf for those kinds of things. And I just want to say thank you so much to the families and the staff for keeping us in mind. And I know that we have just such an awesome community, and we get so much support and the positive. And I want to make sure we all keep that in mind, and recognize all of the support and positive correspondence that we do get. And obviously we don't bring it all to each and every meeting, but I know we all have it up on our bulletin boards in our office, and it's just really nice and keeps us going. So just wanted to recognize our great community and our partners and parents in education.
Okay. I do want to address the item that Nancy Marks mentioned, and I think mostly it's more of a misinterpretation of what was written, but we did talk about it, and we did put something in this week's paper. But the statement, so it was the August 25th paper, the article that was on the school budget. And there's two sentences, and the way it reads is total funds for the year 2023 were $7.3 million. The budget passed on August 8th by the school board stands at $8.25 million. And the way, so I had some phone calls and some texts on that. People are reading that we adopted a budget that is almost $1 million short of the funds that we have. And that is not correct. What she's referencing there is the difference between the fiscal year 23 budget and the fiscal year 24 budget. And the numbers weren't quite right. So last year, fiscal year 23, which is 22-23 school year, the budget was $7.6 million. Fiscal year 24, the budget we just approved in August for the 23-24 school year stands at $8.21 million. And so that difference, most notably is from our increase in A and B due to our increased enrollment. The article also discusses that our high school numbers are down a little bit, but we've increased considerably in K8. And so that's where most of the difference in that funds. But that people were reading that we approved a budget that we didn't have money for, and that is not correct. We approved the $8.21 million budget. That is a balanced budget based on what was presented to the board by the superintendent. So I just wanted to clarify that in the meeting as well as in the paper. I appreciate Nancy for taking the time and visiting with me and allowing me to kind of straighten that out a little bit. So thank you. The second thing, I guess, I want to real quick is the building project. We've now kind of removed that item. The building project is essentially over. We've got some 1-year warranty items that we got to do a walkthrough and kind of check those boxes off. But I just, I wanted to end, with one final thank you to A&E, the architect, Dick Anderson Construction, and Hulting for all of the roles and the parts they played in that project. And especially, we were pretty fortunate. We had a couple hometown people in our superintendent and project engineer, Doug Saltzman, Cheyenne Jones, and I don't think they'd ever say it, but I think we had some extra special care, I think, because of them being Townsend people and working on the Townsend School District project. But the project went really well, and I know, it's probably not 100% perfect in everybody's eyes, but if you look at what it would cost us to build that project today and the time that it would take today versus what we were able to do and the timing of the interest rates and all that, honestly, it couldn't have worked out any better. And the team that we put together selecting those individuals and those companies, I don't think we could have asked for a better team. And so I just wanted to say that kind of one last time now that is pretty much all done.
Thank you. I agree. I reached out today with just one question, something that came up, the warranty kind of things, those kinds of things. We're still going to have questions as we move through these new systems with the new construction. And I reached out and Rich responded immediately, and he's supposed to be retired. So just want to say thank you. They're still very responsive to our requests.
Real quick, Ed, did you have some stuff you wanted to do for under public comment? I don't know if we have one item, but it's about you in particular. So if you've got some bus stuff, this is probably the time for it.
Okay, I do have some bus stuff. Got some quotations for 14 passenger with chairlift. It's a new bus from Hartley's. And that is $120,500 for a price for a brand new one. And then the Bluebird propane unit was $164,250 for a 77 passenger. Thomas built buses from Billings was $159,412 for a 80 passenger, brand new one. And then a brand new bus, handicap accessible from Harlow's in Missoula is $115,633 for a brand new one for 14 passengers. So we got some new prices for a couple handicap buses. And then I've got some used prices, a 2012 84 passenger, has seat belts in the first two seats. This is a used one for $29,100. It's diesel. It was pre-owned. It's got 132,000 miles on it. And then a 2011 front engine. That one is a rear engine, flat nose, 84 passenger. This one is a 71 passenger, 2011, has 72,000 miles on it, and wants $17,003 for it. And a 2013, this one is a 77 passenger. It has seat belts all the way through it. And they wanted $25,400 for that. So you guys can look at that stuff as you wish. That's what I got for prices right now. So then we just went through the buses over the bus barn. Everything's working well right now. Hopefully bus 2 will get here eventually. It's done.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
Yeah, just for those that didn't catch that, the board just met right before the meeting and kind of did a walk through the bus barn just to familiarize the newer trustees with the bus numbers that Ed mentions from time to time and to get a kind of a hands-on look at what's there and what we need to look at. I guess at this point, my recommendation would be that we move this to the committee to probably look at, what are the next steps and start looking at the prices that he's put together. And then the committee can come back to the board with a recommendation on that.
Okay, that falls under the Student Services Committee with Board Member Flynn and Board Member Reagan and Board Member Truesdell as an alternate. So I will go ahead and work with you guys to get a meeting scheduled so you can start bus shopping.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you both, Ed and Jeremy, for your time this afternoon. All right, moving forward. Montana Quality Education Coalition presentation. I believe that's you, sir.
Mr. Chair, is it okay if I stand over here?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, Superintendent Heather, thank you for inviting me, and of course, thank you for allowing me to take some of your time and talking to you tonight about MQEC and the value of MQEC and why I would really like Townsend and be a member of the MQEC coalition. Prior to the meeting, the superintendent was very kind to hand out just a short paper that I presented on why I think you should belong, and I'm not going to read it. I remember the first testimony I gave in Helena this past year was Representative Dooling. And man, I did a great job. I prepared a wonderful paper. I handed it out to all 3 people. I read it word for word, and at the end she said, "Doug, thank you, but we can read. You don't have to do that." So I learned, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. My name is Doug Reisig. This is my second year as the Executive Director of the Montana Quality Education Coalition. Prior to assuming that role, I was in public education for 46 years. The past 34 years as a school superintendent, and the past 22 years I was at Hellgate Elementary in Missoula, Montana. I was very happy to be asked to assume the role as the Executive Director because I believe that MQEC is a wonderful organization, and it actually is designed to help promote children and funding for children. We are the guardians of Article 10 of the Constitution of the state of Montana dealing with public school funding and educational opportunity. We are a 501c4, which allows us to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what we do politically, what we do in the legislative process, and of course, what we do in the judicial process. And talk a little bit more about that as to what we're doing right now on the judicial front. You know, when I talk to schools, and I was so happy yesterday, I picked up 3 additional schools, talking to them about the value of MQEC, and we break it into 2 parts. The legislative part of the value of MQEC, and of course the non-legislative part. And the legislative part we just wrapped up, and it was so valuable that whenever I gave testimony on bills that affected public schools and kids in public schools, K12, it was really meaningful to be able to look at committee members and say, you know, that MQ, out of the 153,000 plus children who attend Montana K12 public education, over 100,000 of those children are enrolled in schools that are MQEC members. And that goes all the way from every AA school district that we have in the state of Montana, all the way down to Biddle Elementary in Hubbard River, which has maybe 6 kids in it. And we represent every one of them. And I know in your packet, and I'm not going to take a great deal of your time because I have your agenda here, and I looked at your 101 page packet. I go, man, they don't want to hear from me a whole lot. But it is important to note that when you look at that packet that is included, I put 17 bills that were passed into law, that were all positive bills for kids. And this is not to diminish the School Board Association or any of those others, because they're all members of MQEC. But MTSBA represents trustees, MFPE teachers, SAM represents administrators, the business officials, MASBO represents business officials. All of them represent kids, true, but MQEC, that's what we do. We represent kids. And so when we wrap up the legislative session, everybody thinks, well, things are wonderful, but for the most part, they were. It could have been a very difficult session for public schools, but we were able collectively working together to make it better than what anybody thought it was going to be. But now we're into the non-legislative issues. And obviously reading in newspapers, there was a lawsuit that on the community choice charter school, and MQEC is the lead plaintiff in that lawsuit. And just last week, Judge Abbott out of Helena ruled in our favor in terms of granting a preliminary injunction to prevent HB 562 from taking effect. We're obviously big proponents of HB 549, which is the Public School Charter School Act. We helped write that. It is a public school charter act that actually works in partnership with local school boards. It works in partnership with the Board of Public Ed, and it does work in partnership with each and every voter that is in your community and gives them the opportunity of enfranchisement and to be able to vote. Those 3 things were not included in 562, which is why we challenged 562. And Judge Abbott cited every one of our objections in his opinion and his order granting the preliminary injunction at this point. And so we're very excited about the fact that we continue to move forward and present our case, and we think we will succeed on the merits of our case, and that's the charter school bill that will become the avenue for schools that want to use the charter school bill, which is 549. Another bill that we are going to be presenting a case to is, of course, HB 393, which is a special needs student savings account bill. We're not against special needs students. We believe in educational opportunity for each and every student that is in Montana. But we also believe that those tax dollars should funnel through your school. And those tax dollars should not be appropriated to private individuals or to private schools and taken out of the public funds. And then the other part of that bill is we don't think that a parent can just sign off and waive the faith requirements and guidance that schools have to follow in terms of educating children. So that'll be coming very shortly in terms of presenting that case as well. So again, I would just, I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. I would hope you would give strong consideration. It's been a couple years since Townsend was a member. of MQEC, but I would hope you'd give some strong consideration to joining your member school districts. We have 2 Class B representatives on our board of directors. Aaron Strogan from Baker is one of them, and Jason Sargent from St. Ignatius is the other. And they reach out to Class B schools in terms of issues that may come specifically from your classification that you would like to see MQEC address. All the classifications have representation on it, and we try to make sure that with my 17 board of director members that represent not only each and every one of those schools, but also the School Board Association, Montana Federation of Public Employees, SAM, NASBO, and of course the Montana Rural Education Association are all members of MQEC. So thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the time. And I would just hope you give some serious consideration to join us. So thank you.
Any
Can
questions?
I have a question?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, are there professional development opportunities, trainings for special education teachers? Do you guys collaborate with some of the special education conferences, like with MCASE or any of them?
And we do that through SAM.
Okay.
Of course. In fact, I was just at a meeting last week where the school administrators of Montana was there, MREA was there. We talked just about that. That was one of the key components in terms of special education professional development, because there's so many new teachers that are out there, if we can even find them out there.
Yeah.
And that is one element of professional development. Also, there are other elements of professional development for our teachers. We work in partnership with the Montana Federation of Public Employees as well. So that is our role in terms of having all of them as members of MQEC in terms of trying to bring that all together and work through that.
Okay, and do you provide legal services? I know like MREA and MTSBA, obviously, the board knows and we utilize them in that way. Do you guys have an avenue for that at all when it comes to special education?
Well, we currently use the Montana School Board Association.
Okay, so
we
just in
join together,
connection. Yep.
With that, and then if we have to, we will go out and get our own, just as we did with the 562, we contract our own legal counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Of the 17 bills, what are your favorite top 2 that you got through?
Well, first of all, I would talk about from a school standpoint, I'm very excited about the Health Education Trust for public employees. I think that's huge. I think it will help your budgetary process. We're working feverishly right now to meet all the deadlines and making sure that we have a third-party provider for that. I think that was huge. I think that the expanded advanced learning opportunities for not only middle school but high school kids to get out of the brick and mortar of the building to, I know when I was at Hellgate Elementary, even though we were a middle school, we put in vocational ed classes to get our kids involved in the trades, because there's so many job opportunities for our kids in the trades to allow them to have, to make a good living, to stay in Montana and raise a family. For heaven's sakes, I think that is huge. Governor Gianforte, I believe, was just in Great Falls today, talking about the Early Childhood Literacy Intervention Act that went through for 4-year-olds, which we think is going to be a wonderful opportunity to identify children who may be at risk at the age of 4 and provide targeted intervention, whether it be within the school, outside the school, summer opportunities, a combination of all 3. I think those are huge opportunities for us as well. So if I had to list 3 off the top of my head, I just give you those.
Okay, awesome. And then what's the cost to join?
For you folks, it'd be $2,000. We range all the way from $4,000 to the top, and then $2,500, $2,000, $1,250, $750, $500, $125, $25. And obviously our one-room schoolhouses are $25. And so it's based on your budget that you have, and that information is provided to the OPI, and there's just a sliding scale they have on that. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
And would it be okay if I step out? I have a board meeting tomorrow. I'm putting some final touches on.
Yeah, that's why I put you at the beginning, and I've had the opportunity to work with Mr. Isaac for many years in education. So thanks for all you've done, and for congratulations on your new role. Thanks for stopping by tonight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, next we have Stephanie Michelson with SWMT Prevention Specialist, which we heard from a couple months ago.
So the first thing I was going to talk about is the YC magazine, which is the one thing I mentioned. And as promised, I brought you a copy. Thank you. Because I got them just as school was getting out.
Thank you.
So this magazine is put together by Southwest Montana Prevention under the Youth Connections, or no, it's specific to the Southwest Montana region, the prevention specialists, and all the information is gathered. That there's a section in there where you can do a shout out to students or a group, club, a teacher, or whatever. And then there's different ads in there. I have one in there for RAS training, which is our call center server, and just the Southwest Montana Prevention. So you can read those, take them home with you. The other things I wanted to talk about were some adult ed classes that I really provide. And I wanted to just kind of pass some of these things around. So these are ordinary objects, correct?
I thought you had some interesting swag there.
So I brought these because kids are hiding things in very plain sight that we don't see, that we don't think about. That's Coke can, right? If you pick it up, it's Coke can.
It feels different.
And that's just a water bottle. And that's tampon, right? So if you open them, and a Sharpie, there's a battery. So that is actually a boost tube. That one has a false bottom, and that one actually unscrews at the top, along with the hairbrush, and there's a hidden zipper pocket in the side. So one of the things that I would like to present is doing a class on hidden in plain sight, which is showing kids, or showing adults, parents, what to look for in their kids' room, but also let them know that, you know, not every kid is doing drugs, not every kid is drinking and hiding things. So along with that, some Parenting Montana education to provide them so that they don't go home and toss their kid's room because their kid might not be the kid that's drinking and hiding stuff at school. Along with vapes. I don't have any vapes, but there are apparently hidden vapes now as like highlighters and such, which I shared with you guys. So then the other class that I would like to do is the PACS tools, which there is the PACS tools for teachers, or PACS for behavior. I am trained in PACS, community PACS tools, and I have packets to hand out to every person free of charge. Both of them would be free, of course. If you want to take them and look at them, see what all is in there. Basically everything from the workbook to all the things that I need to use at home to bridge the gap between school and home with the PACS. I mean, walking down the hall, teachers are using PACS good behavior days to have their kids walk down the hall quietly, or you hear them class, and they go, yes, yes. Sometimes that works twice, and then you hear them continue to talk and talk about it. So just to be able to bring it to the home, to the community in the home as well, would be a great resource for family.
And this is the program we use K5 as PACS.
There's no harmonica in there. Probably thank goodness for those kids. If those kids were hearing that at school and at home, that might be too much. They're like, we can't get away.
And that's something I didn't get, but there's
I was
also an app. Yeah, there's also an app you can download on your phone that has a harmonica noise. And then they can't get a hold of it. Well, they could, but, so that's just some things that I brought among many other things that I would like to bring to the school, but as a little piece. So. That is all I have.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
I guess obviously the adult ed classes will get transferred to whoever's.
Yeah, we're getting ready to advertise. We, with you guys approving the budget with the mills for the adult ed program, we will be able to pay for.
Okay. Well, because it actually writes. So the Sharpie does write. But it also has a tube that you can hide things in.
Yes.
Did you see?
Oh yeah, that the top comes off. I wasn't sure what you had with that bag of goodies there. Thank you. So,
Easier to demonstrate than to tell you all that.
yeah, that was excellent. So we will be hiring a new adult ed leader to get the instruction underway. So we'll make sure that she has your classes in mind for that program. And then I know the one thing that last year you were seeking, and I don't have it as an action, well, it says items of discussion or action. So it's not specifically an action item, but last year we had talked about if we were going to approve this, and would you be able to provide this to the district?
Right now, I've handed out some over the summer, but
Okay.
I was thinking just to be able to give one to maybe like the oldest kid in the family to take home or spread it out throughout.
Some in the libraries and middle schools or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So with board approval then to have this available to students. I don't know that we necessarily need formal approval, but I think that it has a lot of great information in it. So we can talk more about that, and thank you for providing it. And we'll take a look, and I'll have Mr. Rock and Ms. Heverin look through it as well and see if we can get that out to the most appropriate places.
Right now, I don't know how often, because it was quarterly at one point. And then there was a lack of staff in the new office to be able to put it all together. And then it was supposed to be twice a year, and we're supposed to be coming out with another one. But I don't know when that is.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Is there any digital access to it at all?
There is. It's all on the MQEC.org website.
youthcares.org.
Yeah, I'll give you a business card so then you can. It's on the back of the.
So I'd like to have a plan then, if we could just have it reviewed
Yeah, I think the board. And
by the board and the administration before we put it out. Each time there's a new one that comes out, if we could put that, whether we just get that committee together and you guys can review it and give me the go ahead, or it needs to come to the full board. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I
I
have.
try to give everybody two myself.
Oh.
You always give people two, one for you and one for somebody else.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Well, thank you again.
So that would be community education, staff development.
I think
Would it fall under curriculum or wellness? It's up to you guys. I could put it with the student services committee, which is going to talk about the bus quotes. Or do you think it's better under curriculum?
I don't know that we necessarily need to have a committee meeting on it. I guess everybody can chime in, but I would think if just the board takes the time to read through it and give it some thought, maybe by the next board meeting, the October meeting, we can have a general consensus on what people think.
Okay,
That would make that.
sounds good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, fifth day programming updates.
So I just want to say we're working through the 5th day, and since the board has approved it, the work began, and it's been a lot of steps, obviously working through and seeing how things go. We're learning along the way, but tried to be as prepared as possible. And so just thank everyone for being involved in that. Ms. Hartman had already done a fabulous job getting the 21st Century Grant going. And we got that finished and then had the 5th day approved and have been working to figure out how we can utilize that grant to run a successful 5th day program. Originally, we were told that we couldn't provide food, for one example. After talking further and meeting with leads at OPI and them being very helpful and diving into the technicality of the program we're running and the specific situations, they did determine we were able to provide lunch, for example. So we just kept after it and had some very helpful people working with us, and we're able to get through those kinds of hurdles, which that was a great example of one, because almost every student that's attending is having the hot lunch that's being provided. So really glad that we can provide that service, and the kitchen is working on Fridays to serve those students, and that way they get their hours as well. And so it's a great deal. Transportation is more interesting of a challenge. I think a lot of it is still getting the word out there. So hopefully you all got the message that was sent out today through Infinite Campus. And so we were trying to make sure that all parents knew, K12, that this program was available to them at no cost, that there was a transportation component and a meal component. And Ms. Hartman wrote that well. We just added, sent it to me for approval. We added a few things and the tech team got that right out. It'll go out again tomorrow. Just make sure everyone gets that and gets registered for Friday. It helps if people register in advance, because then we can make sure we have the food count right and the staffing right. We understand that there'll be a little bit of flux. We had a family sign up for the bus last week, and then they ended up being ill, and so we just roll with that. We did send all the buses out last week to each stop, centralized location plan that was planned just in case anyone attempted to get on the bus. We wanted to make sure the buses were there. And we are hoping with the further communication that's now gone out that we'll get more bus riders. We did find out that there were families in another location that bus wasn't going to that did want to ride the bus. So we were able to shift routes and accommodate that. So we're taking feedback and input. Just want to make sure that's very clear that we can make those adjustments, that we're listening to the community and want to make it work for the community. I also just want to say thank you so much to Stoke, and Teddy Lewis is just phenomenal with pottery, with the Stoke program and pottery, and Ms. Hartman's worked out an incredible schedule with him, and more kids are coming because they had such a great experience in pottery. So now the word's out when they know there's going to be pottery opportunities. There's more kids showing up, and I think that is just a great sign of the high quality programming that's being offered. And so I will turn it over to Mrs. Hartman, who is going to give us some more details on data and be able to answer further questions. I did want to mention that our first Friday program was really fun to greet the kids, and the staff was excited and there and happy. We had plenty of staff, and the magician was a science teacher from Manhattan who's also on a 4-day school week. So they were able to come over and do that with our students. That was pretty neat. And thank you to a couple of you who showed up to check out the program. So go ahead.
So our first 5th-day program, we actually had 19 students in attendance. 3 were going to be riding the bus, but they actually slept in, but they did show up. I did have some reach out, like Ms. Hedlund has stated about further spot for transportation. And so we've adjusted for that now. We are going to keep sending the buses out for a little bit. I've talked to Jeremy Rice about that, just until we kind of get into a routine of things to see who actually needs it, because we're still trying to, kind of get everything lined up and make sure everyone understands how this is all working. With the program of things that are starting to come out, Mr. Gill is going to be doing esports for us, and that'll be starting soon for middle and high school. I've reached out today for looking for someone to do our drone program. We have the pottery program, which I'm really excited that tonight we had 20 kids that want to go to pottery. And so I'm actually going to have to break it up a little bit more. Eddie is really good about, he's just going with the flow right now, and we'll break it up a little bit so that there's not so many kids at once. But we had 20 tonight, we had 13 last week for different age levels. So they're really, and I have kids that are signing up, that signed up this morning because they want to attend pottery. And so then drone, I did have someone else come talk to me about podcasting they're really excited about. And then this week we actually have Mr. Patrick who's going to be doing movie making, so they'll be attending there. And then we also have pottery again. So we have pottery twice a week. So with these numbers, it's really paying off. The after school program keeps growing, so I'm trying to get as much coverage as I can. We had 35 kids tonight. Last night was 30, and so every night it just keeps growing. So more and more kids to try and make sure we have enough staff to get it covered. But everyone, they're reaching out to me if they have questions. They're letting me know, well, this would work better or whatever. It's just really communicating, trying to make sure I'm communicating what's going to be happening on those days, so the kids do want to just show up for whatever part of the day they can. And this last Friday with the kids, I was there at 7:15, and we had kids waiting outside for the doors to open at 7:30. And we had students there till 5:58 for their last ones that checked out. So they're there all, and their kids can move in and out. We have kids that are there that also have volleyball practice, so it's working really well for that. They can attend. Their parents have signed off that they leave at a certain time. They go to volleyball practice, so that's, the families have been really happy with everything that has worked out with this.
Christina interviewed high school kids today for jobs for after school and the 5th-day programming, so that's exciting. A lot of kids apply,
A lot of interest.
It's good.
Christina, first off, great job getting this kicked off. This has been a blessing, I think, for a lot of families, so thank you. When I went to go in to sign up, is it possible to get to, I understand priorities and whatnot, where you can see what the curriculum is going to be for that Friday?
Yeah, that's the goal. I'm trying to get everything like lined up so that we can get that in there. That's why we've only put September in there. We only put September in that registration form, so that just to get us going and kind of get into a routine, and then get all these times locked in for like pottery and the esports, and try and get all that so we can have a schedule. So it's all set.
Do you know what we're going to have this Friday?
Yeah, it's posted out today.
Okay, it is. Okay.
Yeah, it was put on Class Dojo as well as our website and Facebook.
Okay, so it's in a different place to where you go to actually sign up for the 5th-day program then?
For what's happening this Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on our website
Okay,
and our Class Dojo and that, until I can get kind of those things locked in. Then I can get it on that registration form.
gotcha, okay.
Because I'll be able to have set schedules, like we'll know that pottery is going to be these days, these times, drones, whatever, just trying to get those things locked in.
It's good to do it right now.
Yeah, eventually we'll get there. Anything else?
I guess the transportation is the big one, the question for me, and I've had some questions on it. I guess the question I've got is, do you have some metrics in mind on how many kids at a stop, how long are we gonna run if nobody's getting on? At what point are we gonna say, transportation isn't cost effective and those types? Have we put any kind of thought into what those boundaries might be?
And I guess when I talked to Jeremy, we kind of discussed that maybe this first month until we're kind of gotten to routine, and then we can revisit to say, okay, yeah, we're not seeing people, no one's signing up for it, because like I said, already our numbers for after school program are increasing, drastically. That I'm also seeing people sign up for Friday as well, that is the numbers increasing. So I think people are just now like, okay, we see what this looks like now, that maybe given the month will give us an opportunity to see who actually needs the transportation.
I agree. I think with our first Friday program, fifth day program being the Friday of a holiday weekend, we had lower attendance than we're likely to see as we get into a regular school routine. So we definitely want to see if it's something that families need or not, but agree that needs to be an ongoing conversation with those sideboards as well as the times. I appreciate Mrs. Hartman wanting to make sure that we're supporting all of those families, but going till 6 in the evening, if we only have one student that's staying past 5:30, for example, just those kinds of things we need to keep an eye on and flesh out as the program goes on.
Yeah, it's great that we have the grant available. We just want to make sure we're utilizing it, to the best of its ability, and utilization being maximized, I guess is what.
Mm-hmm.
Those funds are what they are. Just want to make sure we're using them.
And another thing that Mrs. Hartman and I talked about is that those miles that we have already set aside with Bulldog bus lines could be used for a field trip rather than location pickup. There is a formal process for putting in for a field trip for the grant, but that'd be a great way to. The kids, for example, are doing a really cool activity that Ms. Hartman and her team planned this Friday for building a miniature golf course. So it has the engineering and construction components and some fun things, but then to get to take them the next Friday to do miniature golf and some other education activities in a central location, something like that would be really cool. So we talked about that because that'd be another good use of the transportation that we had planned for those Fridays to get kids out there and engaged in different opportunities that they don't get to have on a regular basis, just like the summer program offered.
And the component that we haven't gotten to yet is that family engagement piece, and that's where we can also use transportation to where I just found a really cool site where it connects car racing to the physics and math and stuff like that, to be able to take families down to a car race and see, okay, this is how this looks and apply it. So that'll be another piece of that transportation.
I'd just like to say, just from the parent standpoint of it, this program has certainly gone from a place where my kids have had to go to, I wasn't home, to I got left out here by the gate because my kids would rather go to after school program than get a ride home from me. So that's not a bad and then on the way walking over here, my 12-year-old was so excited, jumping up and down because of the pottery class, or because she's covered in pottery stuff. One of the two, but from the parent side of it, I definitely see it's not just what I say in their life, but I've seen that too.
Yeah, and as I said, when I have kids showing up 2 days, getting handing in paperwork so they can go tonight, I'm like, okay, that tells me a lot. They want to be part of that.
Very cool.
Appreciate that. Yeah, so that's one, that fifth day programming updates is probably just going to be on the board agenda, kind of replace the building project one, so that we can continue to talk about it, monitor it, and make sure that, it is doing what we hope it does, and budget-wise, utilizing those funds in the best way appropriate. Okay, all right, thank you, Christina. Moving on, consent action items, minutes and warrants.
I'll move to approve the minutes and warrants as presented.
I just got a couple questions on the warrants.
Just a second first.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes and warrants as presented. Is there any discussion?
Sorry.
Nope.
It's fine.
That's your turn.
McGraw Hill, is that curriculum based?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is that? What exactly? Is that the?
I'm trying to remember which one that is. I know we just did it. Do you have the line item? I guess I have it in my own packet right here as well.
272?
It's everyday math.
Okay.
Christina knows more about
Is that annual or monthly?
I don't know how much it was.
annual.
There's 7,951.
Was that our annual one? Yeah.
That's
Everyday
annual.
math.
So we have to buy.
The
Every
licenses.
year, and we have to, so that one will be actually a little bit less next year. And that's because when we purchased it, we had purchased 5 years of licenses in the past, which we had done on a number of our programs. Well, 23 is when all of those licenses ended. And so we had to go back around and do our 5 years or 1 year licensing.
Does that cover a myriad of grades or is that just one grade? Or?
No, that is K5.
Thank you. How about Pine Cove Consulting? So it's a network. It's probably.
Yep.
Yeah, so that, depending on what line item it is, I haven't seen that, pardon me, I have not seen that budget information, but,
30282, so it was 10,732 for Ruckus switch.
yeah, so that's switches that were purchased, I want to say 3.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just now getting them, and so that was purchased under E-rate.
That was part of the new elementary.
Yes, as part of the new elementary, we were adding infrastructure to the district. And, like I said, it was purchased, actually, we purchased it outright this time, and then E-rate will refund us part of that.
So that is part of why we have not made a large Chromebook purchase order like we usually do before the school year starts, because I knew we needed to have the money in the technology fund and wanted to make sure we had plenty of cushion there in case we had any major technical failures or issues. But we knew that this was coming and that we were going to have to pay it forward and then wait for the reimbursement. Yeah, we've been waiting forever since I started pretty much for that. So I have it on the calendar. We have them scheduled to be here, putting it in. We will have the internet down on one of the Fridays. We just talked about it this morning.
Yes.
Friday.
In November,
It's one of the Fridays.
November something.
Yeah, it is 30.
I think it is the 3rd. I have it right here. So we have let the library know that, and it could impact the Friday programming. Friday the 3rd, though. There's possible internet interruptions as that those new switches are put in place district-wide.
Okay. And last one is text help for $1,200.
That is the special education.
Molly's.
So that is a special education program that is used on the iPads for our students that are nonverbal. So they are able to communicate through an iPad by clicking on symbols. To communicate to their teachers, and those students, for example, that participate in our summer program, extended program that is offered through IDEA to students that need that service in the summer. They spend a lot of time working on that communication tool and even bridging that with families so they can utilize it at home. So teaching the students how to verbalize through their communication tool on their iPad. Mr. Rock's seen it a little bit, I believe.
Yes.
And Mrs. Hartman with various students. I don't know if you have anything to add, but yeah, it's
Very good.
it's pretty neat to observe. I've gotten to see Miss Hanson instructing the students and the parents with it. So.
Casey, did you have
You will actually see additional Pine Coast switches. That is not the entire bill
Mhm.
that is due. That's just
maybe like 2.
yeah, it's gonna be another 60,000.
They're going to set us up for the decade.
5 years, buddy.
Technology, man.
Yeah.
By the time I got here, it was outdated.
Yeah.
You have to upgrade on it.
Yeah, that will not be the last time you
Luckily,
see it.
we've been limping the old system along for the 3 years that this one was supposed to be here. So I do meet regularly, and I have talked to Luke a lot about the plan for replacing these systems, especially as now we have additional switches and systems with the newer building. So we just need to be really careful and keep that in mind when we're budgeting with that technology fund. When we're talking about, the cost of all the hardware and, Chromebook replacement and all of that, there's a lot there. Like I've said before, we have a lot of technology costs, so we need to closely monitor those things and make sure we're on a cycle so that doesn't all happen at once.
Thank you. Did you have more?
I just had a couple observations or comments, I guess. One was related to shipping costs. I know it's unavoidable, but we spent $600 last month just to ship stuff here for athletic, just to try and watch that a little bit if we can. If we're gonna spend,
Very.
if we're gonna spend $5,000 a month on athletic equipment, we should get shipping for free. But anyway, just a comment. And then the other one was just the athletics, and we talked about that last fiscal year as well, as far as being cautious of what we spend relative to equipment. And I saw we have a lot of equipment purchases again this month, so just being cautious as we go forward. Remaining funds available.
John and I met with Casey actually last week, and we had a lot of this discussion as well. We're all on the same page on board. We definitely have some procedures and processes that we're working on together in place so that we can vet that a lot better and have a better idea of what's going on with everything. So we are on it.
And we did meet with the coaches, and Mr. Odell has taken the charge of screening those purchases and requisitions and understands that they have to be really prioritized. So those were ones that I had set aside, and they went through and prioritized again, and that was the final, I guess, big push of activities and athletic orders for the year.
Yes, no, like I said, I know.
Yes, thank you.
Do business, but just curious. Another comment I had, I guess, last one was we kind of joking about it before about the new washing machine.
It's not new, it's repair. I'm sorry.
So that's a $1,500 repair to our washing machine.
I'm sorry if it
I
meant.
only knew a guy that owned a laundromat.
Nice.
Probably cost you twice that much.
I was gonna say. No, okay, that's fine, Casey. I just curious.
No,
You can't buy a new washing machine.
We had this conversation today as well, and actually the new washing machine, commercial washing machine like that is around 10,000.
it's the big daddy in the locker room, and we
And
did talk
is
about
it-
Did I really?
Is
mention
it even repaired all the way yet? I don't.
I'm not sure.
It's a
It was.
dinosaur.
I think it is, yeah.
Oh, is
They
it
were
working
waiting for
I
again?
believe it's working.
Okay, because last I checked, we still were waiting to see if there was still more parts that we needed, and that was not including the 1,500. So
Is this the same one that we used in 1994?
Oh, it's been here as long as I've been here, I think, so.
Yeah, we
Yes.
we can-
Well, as you know, they're too heavy to move out. It's there forever. So.
We're gonna use it for storage when it dies.
all right.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. All right. Moving on to the action items. Approve the 5th grade field trip to the Montana Learning Center.
All right, I will let Miss Gilligan take it away. Her and Mr. Hoff provided a letter explaining the field trip to you. This is annual overnight field trip, and I will let you. You don't want to mention a few that. Well, you did a great job of talking to me about a few of the awesome activities that you are going to do. How about that?
Well, we've done it for, I think this is like year 15.
probably. So Auburn and I, and Allison actually started it years ago, and then Allison left and it was Auburn and I, and then I pulled Tanner in last year. So it's a great bonding field trip, we feel. That's why we try to take it in the fall. And it kind of, we get to see our kids in a different light, and they get to see us in a little different light. So we get to know them better, I think, and they get to see us in a better way, just not that strict person yelling at them in the hallway or making them do their homework. We do activities up there. We've done STEM activities in the past, and we do a lot of Native American stuff on the second day. I have talked to Tanner about maybe incorporating more of the Native American stuff even in the first day. I know if you haven't ever been up there with us before, it's fun to at least come and check out. Some of you may even want to stay overnight.
Those of us that have fifth graders.
Yeah. So we do take parented chaperones. There's little, I don't know if you've ever been up to the Montana Learning Center. They have little cottages. It's where the people that built the dam, actually, they were housed years ago. What was that, 1950? 54. I was gonna say, I think I remember I've heard that dam tour every year. For several years then. Yeah, so they're kind of little tiny 2-bedroom, 1-bath cottages, but now they put a bunch of bunk beds in them. So they now call them dorms. So we can put 10 to 12 kids, 2 adults and 10 or 11 kids. And so in a house, and then we separate them out. So we have to have at least 4 chaperones for overnight. So I told Tanner, I said, once we get approved tonight, then I would send out the official letter to parents and ask for help on that.
I've gone up there every year now for a while.
She brings us
I bring their pizza up on the first night, and it's really cool to see all the kids and the engagement they have. And it's a great program. I really appreciate it.
It's fun. The kids really enjoy it. It's exhausting because we get them in the morning, and then we don't go to bed till about 10 o'clock that night, and then we're back up at 7. So by the time we get back, we're exhausted. It's well worth it. So.
I move to approve my field trip.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 5th grade field trip to the Montana Learning Center. Is there any discussion?
Just have a,
I was gonna say, just thank you for making the investment. Going over and above to make the investment, because it is a lifelong impact that kind of trip will make.
I feel like it's the highlight of being a 5th grader. It's surprising this year. There was a lot of 4th graders that didn't know about it, even though we won last year. They're like, we go overnight? And I'm like, hurry it in.
That's all I have to thank you.
Thank you.
And the Montana Learning Center is an incredible place to be.
And
Yeah.
they're gonna give us the grant, if the Clear Skies, we can use their big, strong, oh my gosh, that is so cool.
So my question is more procedure. How come we're having to, it's obviously established and it's working well, why do we have to review this and get a board motion on it every year? Can we just make it? Is it a policy that we have or?
That's a good question.
There always was in policy that.
I can't remember. Overnight, yeah. Out of state and overnight. The FFA one, I checked with Gemma, but they're not going this year. So usually the FFA one's on this agenda too, but they're not going to nationals this year. So. Maybe someone's dealing with the roof issue from earlier.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Tanner, thank you for your video.
He told me he was going to be here, and I was like, really? I don't know.
Okay, I know parents, teachers, they were waiting. Are you ready now? Do you have everybody, or are you still waiting?
So it's just us.
It's just-
Perfect.
So you're in, okay.
That's-
So next item is the organization of Parent-Teacher Association.
Would you guys like to go ahead and just introduce yourselves really quick, and then I'll take it away?
Yeah, so I'm Emily Christensen. I'm Michelle Hildreth. Yep.
All
And
right.
Michelle came from, they're doing the Deep Creek Pizza, and they came from Utah, and she helped do PTA there for 8 years. And so I've been trying to pick her brain a little bit about it. And I've, had kids. Tyler, my oldest, is 21, all the way to 6. And since I've been here, I haven't been involved in the PTA, but I've always wanted to. And I love our teachers and administration so much, so we thought it would be cool to be able to support and help them. So.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. So I just want to say these ladies have done a fantastic job of getting organized in a quick and concise manner. So as you can tell, we are going off of policy 4210, which is in your packet, and they met all of the required components in the policy and the document that they provided. One of the only things we talked about today was them needing a treasurer as one of the components here. It asks that they notify the board. I'm just trying to find which number it is, that they notified the board of who the treasurer is going to be. And I believe that you got voluntold, Michelle Hildreth, that you are the treasurer. So we will just make note of that in the minutes. And then as far as I'm concerned, they have met all of the required components of the policy. They are following the bylaws, the policies and procedures of the National Teachers Association, or the Montana Congress of Parents and Teachers, I should say. So they have that link there, and they have done a lot of research, and Michelle is bringing a lot of knowledge from her experience in working with PTAs. And I know that Mrs. Hartman's been talking to them about how this would look and how it could be supportive in our district. And I had a great time visiting with Emily as well and offering just some ideas from, basic to robust PTA programs that I've had the opportunity to work with. So I think this could be really great for our school system, and they have met all of the requirements necessary. So I recommend approval of the organization of our Townsend PTA.
I'll move to approve the organization of the PTA as presented.
I'll second
Vanessa was ready for that.
Been moved and seconded to approve the organization of the PTA as presented.
Just a thank you as well. One of the things prior to just like the first meeting on the board was the teacher appreciation week, and I was asking one of our other foundations in the community if there's any way we can utilize their funds to support teachers and support teachers and what they do. And so looking through your goals and the things you're looking to do this year, just appreciate having that tool now that we can utilize to be able to do those things.
Yeah, I agree. I am in favor of this, and anytime we can increase and expand the interaction between our parents and our teachers and staff, I think that's a great avenue, and I do appreciate the effort you're putting into getting this going, and look forward to working with the group.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
And from an admin perspective, just thank you, because, we do the best what we can with what we have to work with, and we just so appreciate this is incredible. It's amazing, and we really appreciate you helping us, recognize our staff and all the hard work that everybody does. So thank you so much. This is great.
I've never been a part of a better administration than staff, honestly, in the places we lived in. So I really we love our teachers and administration and want to support you guys as much as we can. So we know your loads are heavy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passed. Approve a new game broadcasting system.
I could have said that maybe a little more eloquently now that you read it out loud, Jason. Chairman, thank you. Okay, so I have had multiple conversations with folks at a higher wavelength in technology than myself, but I will try to describe what I can, and I do have others in the room that can assist. So what we were running into is we actually weren't able to broadcast our game the other weekend. I believe it was in Florence that we weren't able to broadcast. And so, of course, Mr. Bowman and others were disappointed and fired up. We did find out that it was just a cord that was bad.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, no.
Yeah, so we thought that the whole system was like defunct, and they were like, we have to get a whole new system immediately. And I did find out that our current radio station helpline did get right on the horn with them and try to troubleshoot with them and help. They didn't have backup equipment to try some of the different things out, so they weren't able to broadcast, but it was just a cord that had gone bad. So we are back up and at 'em for broadcasting. There is still a concern with the cost of the radio system. And I guess really it's a board level and community discussion that needs to take place. So the radio station cost us over $9,000. That's after we got all of the sponsorships last year. And originally there was an agreement between the county and the school for the radio system, and it was part of the DES for the emergency announcements. That is no longer the case. The DES and the county have no interest in the radio or the need for it to continue in their eyes. And so we are solely using it for the purpose of currently. It's been used for many great things in the past, from what I understand, but we're currently solely using it for the purpose of broadcasting games, a few public service announcements when people reach out to us can ask us if we can put something on the radio. But this summer, for example, someone from the fair reached out to me, and I didn't have anyone that could put it on the radio, and we couldn't contact the folks that we needed to make that happen. So it's not something that can be done in a real timely manner if I don't have staff and people on board that have that historical knowledge. And then Mr. Rock does a great program with it for the Holocaust nights that they do, where the students get to put their information on there. So that I don't mean to diminish those incredible things. And I know that we have some very connected listeners, but we're paying a lot of money for that music every month. So we're paying multiple fees. We pay for the music licenses. So for the songs that are played, we pay for the radio station kind of fees for their staffing and all of that. There's a lot of fees that go into that. And then if we broadcast, there's additional fees above and beyond that. So it's just time to talk about, the cost of that radio system and how it's going to be used, if we're going to try to use it more and in other ways to make it worth the cost, or is it time to look at something different? I don't know, how integrated it is into the community, all of those kinds of things. And then when we were worried that we weren't going to be able to broadcast, I know Joe Gill and Mr. Bowman got on, and you guys worked together to create this spreadsheet on how we could broadcast in a different fashion. So this is with an app, just kind of like the link is shared to the board meetings. A link would be shared to the broadcasting events, and people would be able to click on to a link to listen to the football games and whatnot. And this would cost us around $1,000 a year after the sponsorships.
I think part of the issue too, and Joe can chime in as well, is that the system's super antiquated. When we are down and having troubles, it is very difficult to get connected with the entity that we need to be connected with that drives the radio station that runs it. It's just getting to the point where there are probably other technical ways of doing it much more efficiently with less troubleshooting and breakdown and not having it work after spending those kinds of funds on it. So just like everything else, it's just getting very antiquated. There are better technologies now to do that, so.
I'm pretty sure the technology that's in place with that radio station's been here for as long as it's been in place. There have been very few upgrades done on the system. There's been talk about it, but nothing's ever came to fruition. In fact, the only changes they've made have made it more difficult for us to actually utilize our radio station. So all of that said, the solution that Mr. Bowman and I were looking at was basically it's like a podcast type solution where folks during the game can tune in and catch the live broadcast while it's happening via basically like Mrs. Edelman alluded to, a link on the website. And I think from our perspective, I think it would serve us better in a lot of ways for, first of all, you'll have a much higher quality sound than what you get currently with no interruptions from call signs in the middle of your game. I know a lot of times during those games when I've listened to them, right in the middle of a major play, you've got a call sign called out because that's when they drop the call signs during that broadcast, and we have no control over any of that. So I think this is a good viable option. It's what we would like to recommend for this going forward, and obviously there's a lot of other considerations you're going to have to make.
And this was a discussion that was happening before we ever had our problems before us. So it was already being talked.
Oh yeah. It was definitely concerned me with when I saw the numbers in the budget last year. When we're really having to take a look at line items and think about them. That was a tough one. We also, in the meantime, have increased our sponsorship rates, and we haven't had any negative feedback on that from the businesses so far that we've been asking to sponsor. One thing, one part of that is that we do pay the broadcasters, and if they have to travel, that costs quite a bit. So the sponsorship can sometimes barely cover that, much less cover the cost of the broadcasting fees we're paying.
And Gary's really stepped up this year with, the leg and the radio person, like many of our other positions that we're trying to get filled and get put back together. He's really stepped up to get those ads and sell those ads. And we appreciate Gary just taking the lead on that initiative to do that and help us out while we're still in limbo with some of those things like who's working the radio.
I was just going to do it. And he was like already on it. So it was awesome. He's already gotten some sponsorships in place. And also, while we're on the subject, thank you to Mr. Rock for your many years of radio service. So there's only a few people in this community that know how to make this radio work. And Mr. Rock, Joe Gill, Melinda Reedy are a few of them. So it's been a challenging thing to navigate or come to understand. It's quite intricate.
I would say on the price figured in, there's, I see you figured in just one season. I don't know, in the past, there was no cost to doing the football games associated with it. I don't know if that's still the same arrangement with the people doing it now. But I see that was not figured into the budget, so that might be something that needs to be a discussion with whoever's doing them.
Okay, another one that got left off. This isn't 100% accurate. I understand and appreciate trying to get some numbers pulled together, but I know Mr. Bowman noticed that the Verizon bill was left off too, which adds 50 something a month for the
tower.
Yeah. So $300 more in cost a year.
Is the app costing you guys who that app is, or maybe it's labeled something? Is there a cost to the app?
that the Mixer Roadcaster Duo?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's, yeah, that's.
the $4.99.
Basically the program that we're using, we're interested in.
One-time cost.
That's, I believe, a yearly cost.
Oh, because it's under the wrong column then.
Let me see, may I?
Or you have two mixers, you have Mixer Roadcaster Duo, $4.99, and then Service Mixer.
Okay.
$6
I'm sorry, so the $4.99, that is a piece of equipment, as is the headsets, obviously. The yearly fees would be there's a Mix LR is the name of the app, that's why I was confused. Mix LR is actually the 60 a month is the app. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
So just a back brief it was costing us $9,000 a year after sponsorship money, and this is 98.3. If we endorse this, 98.3 basically goes away because we're the only ones keeping it alive right now. Is that right?
Mhm.
I guess I think this is an important discussion. I think, our technology, all of that, the costs are important to consider. But I guess my concern is I don't think necessarily it's appropriate for the five of us here tonight to say that we're going to axe the radio. I think that needs to be part of a broader discussion. And whether that's joint with the county, to officially say that they're axing it or bring in community members, I don't think that's what we're here tonight to do, is to axe the radio.
Agree. And that's my recommendation as well. As you can see, when I typed the sport agenda up, I was hoping if we needed to, we could approve this new program so that we could begin broadcasting as we have exciting games coming up. But still continue that discussion about the radio. At this time, after talking to Mr. Bowman and everyone else, we have fixed the problem temporarily or for the meantime for broadcasting. So I'm not even necessarily recommending that at this moment. While we still have it, we're still paying for it anyways, so we can continue with the system we have. I think it's important to get the discussion rolling and to get a lot of community feedback. I know there's some diehard listeners, and I know when we quit mailing out the letters, the Bulldog newsletters about adult ed and things, I had a handful of people show up pretty upset about that, but we were spending thousands of dollars mailing those out. And now all of that's on the website, of course. So I want to know how many people this is going to impact. Is it something that we can use? I know there's been some talk of podcasting and broadcasting in Mr. Horn's class. So can we use it more? Can other community agencies, organizations use it more? Can we make it worthwhile? All those conversations need to happen. I did talk to Brittany Willis with DES, and we did talk to multiple commissioners from the county just to get that perspective, which I shared. So I think this
I
needs.
just think we need to get that a little more formal.
Yeah.
On the record.
And I think it needs to be, there is actual contractual obligations, like we have to give a 4-month notice and different things like that Casey pulled up. So we also have to look at all of that. So just wanted to get it on the docket and start those discussions.
Yeah, I think either with, whether we do a special meeting for it or we just start getting, more information out, that we are going to talk about it again at October if that's what we decide. But I think we just need to make sure that we give ample opportunity for public comment on it before we.
One of the comments I would make is, and I'm not saying this, the amount we pay for the radio station is worth it, but this district has ever used it to the potential, it could be an incredible tool for our district to get the word out. We just simply haven't done that. I think people would be surprised at the number of listeners, especially if they knew that's where information was going to be. I think it could be a really valuable tool for all the things with school, and I think it's be very easy to get students involved into being a part of that and creating that content, whether it's announcements, sharing things. I mean, I've got a million ideas on how it could be used really well, but we just haven't done that. We basically play music. I mean, they still run lunch menus from like, there's the voice on there, the guy that hasn't been here for
Oh, yeah.
a dozen years. And you hear, I just think, if we were to choose to keep with it, I would like to see it kind of use more of the potential that it has. I think for a lot of people with different things.
Agree.
The biggest challenge that we have with it is basically the ease of use for training somebody and how to actually set it up and put material on, and then contacting the people that handle this from a technical perspective. And there's many challenges that are associated with that. I'm more than willing to work with anybody and teach them how to do this stuff, but it is going to be a very challenging process.
Yeah, I understand that, and I realize there's a lot to consider when we do this.
One more comment would be to have the broadcasters notify the listeners that we're taking comment on this station going away. That way maybe the people that are actually listening to it could
Put
give
it
you
on
guys
the
some
radio.
feedback.
Send us your $50.
All I can tell you is when the game goes off the air, for some reason,
You hear about it.
Your phone lines up.
people I didn't even know had my phone number. Sometimes it's like, and it is a fun thing and it's a cool thing, but money is the bottom line. I mean, with everything, if there's a more economical way to do it, I'm all for it. I think it'd be great. But I think whatever we do, I think we're missing out on a way to get a lot of information out to people, whether it's through the radio or through some other thing that we do.
I have two questions. Who are the sponsors? And number two, if you do decide, or whoever the community decides to do away with the radio station, is that license, does it just disappear? Can it be sold? What happens to it?
Great.
I can answer a couple of those
Yeah.
things. I mean, obviously, the sponsors are local businesses or people that we approach to try to help offset the costs, and they basically purchase advertisement for a game. And then the other part is the original, and whether or not it works the same way. 98.3, some of you guys might know, was an emergency station. It is a low power station designed for basically emergency use. It has there's a special frequency for it. And so with that, there's some regulations, I think, at least originally, that were involved with using that a regular radio station would not have. I think like that 98.3 is designated low power for, I believe other communities that have it are actually on the same frequency. Is that correct? That
You
you
can't
go
get
to?
it everywhere,
Right, what
Yeah.
I'm saying is,
Barely
you
allowed.
lose,
Under the
you
tower.
lose it, it's almost pretty, it goes to about 5 miles north and sometimes.
Jason, tell your story.
It works when I'm going with my tractor this way. So you lose half the game. You're going back and forth.
I love it when he
So what I'm
explains it
saying
that way.
is,
Yeah.
maybe as you get to another place that has that low power frequency, then you would pick up, kind of like you leave your dial on the same station, drive across the state, But I could be wrong on that. That was some of the original discussion, but that's how the station kind of came to be, and how, it's not a regular frequency.
So am I guessing that the reason why DES and that really aren't, there's other technologies to utilize those emergency systems now, and this is just something that's.
Like the Amber Alert system.
Exactly,
Right.
where everybody gets a text on your phone.
Yeah, they said the rate, our 98.3 is no longer part of their
Right.
emergency announcement plan.
So Nancy, just that, one of the questions a lot of people have is the content on the station is basically a service that we pay for from a central location that runs multiple radio stations around the area, multiple school stations. And so, you know, whether they like it or don't like it, we don't have any control over whether you're hearing Ernest Tubb, Johnny Cash, or whatever. So, you know, that's one of the questions we get a lot. And a lot of people really enjoy, I actually kind of like it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nancy, during the broadcast, like, you know, for example, Brad's broadcast for years, when we have those sponsors, they highlight and talk about those businesses. That's part of the ad that they pay for, is to have a discussion about what the services are they offer and different things, highlighting those businesses. If you haven't covered
One thing we've always been interested in to present to advertisers is how many people actually listen. And that's been a very hard number to ever get. You know, and originally when it was on, you could tell the number of internet listeners. And it was kind of neat, like when we first started, I think Mr. Reagan was overseas and was able to listen to his kids' games. When, you know, it was kind of cool that way. We had a couple of people that did. I mean, it was neat, but certainly there's more, better ways to do it financially. I think we should explore.
Yeah, I think Jason hit it on the head, because there might be an opportunity to garner funds from the commissioners, the county commissioners, because this is such a public service. The nursing home folks, they're all programmed. That's how they listen to the games. My grandma listened to all the games on that, and I'm concerned if we go to all app-based, how are those types of individuals going to be able to listen to games, because they don't have smartphones.
Right.
So I think you do need to reach out to the community and maybe garner more support to help keep it. That's what we want to do, or maybe morph it into a new system so we have both. But absolutely, let's do some research on it.
Yeah, I do fear that the demographic that listens to that station we would lose a lot of them with a more technological approach. But then again, maybe it'd be better because some of those people that aren't able, don't have to live right in town.
Yeah, I think I agree with all the points, and that was a neat story to hear about you listening to your students' games as well. I've got a laugh out of Jason's when he explained how his service works with it, and that's definitely the goal. Is we don't want to take those opportunities away from anyone. So just want to make sure if it is something that the community can utilize too, how can we make it effective? So.
Can I ask one question on this new app? You had stated that it'll come after sponsorship. It'll come still to a cost of $1,000.
Around $1,000 a year.
And then, so I'm confused so the $1,000 there, but then on here, the positive is the $1,800. I'm just.
Oh no, a positive, but they did leave off a couple of small fees. Like the Verizon. So actually, yes, you're right. It does say positive. And then we're not sure if we got all the costs right for the number of seasons. So,
I remember Gary talking about that.
yeah, it's definitely not set in stone, but was just a goal to try to get a basic idea of cost. And so it looks like, I'm guessing it'd be more like a wash.
I just want clarification.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I don't think that the school was ever trying to make money off of. But when we saw it cost us over $9,000 last year, it was like, ooh, that's a lot. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess at the pleasure of the board, we'll leave that. But I guess the question is how, what is our plan to move forward? How do we want to address the concerns, either through research or community input? I think we need to put a plan together, because we don't want to just say we're not going to deal with it tonight and keep kicking it down the road either. I know at some point we have to make a decision on what we're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know if we put it on a future board agenda or a separate meeting, like you said, and have it like a joint community meeting with DES and the county and a listening session. We could advertise it on the radio station, maybe get some of those folks to chime in, something like that. I don't know. We can definitely talk about that and figure out what kind of a meeting we would want to hold to get input and feedback or brainstorm with community. I mean, if we invited a lot of the community agencies and see if they'd have any interest or involvement in wanting to, if we had 10 of us paying $1,000 or so, that'd be a lot different than the school taking the whole
Maybe
payment.
pulling whatever contract or paperwork.
And we could pull all the paperwork together. And like I said, that $9,000 was after all of our sponsors. So we'd have to look and get all the actual costs down, and we could have a presentation put together to explain all the costs to the community and see what people thought.
I propose play-by-play and commentary of board meetings. Color commentary on I think people would pay. And we could have guest commentary, it'd be great.
Oh my gosh. Don't you dare, Brad. In a couple years, that's going to be his new gig. I can just see it.
I'm not processing that payroll.
Well,
if you would mind, I would recommend you table it and allow me to put together a proposal for a community meeting.
okay, that's on.
Okay.
Thank you. Approved student attendance agreement.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask for a site schedule change?
Yep.
Okay, I should have acknowledged Ruby earlier when we were talking about the 5th day program, because I realize it's getting late. We still have quite a few items before she comes up under personnel, and I don't want her to, I don't want her to get any more worried with all of these great conversations we're having now. I just wanted I invited her tonight so you guys could meet her, and wanted to, and also Stephanie, you're not expected to stay all night. So I just wanted you guys to get a chance to meet Ruby, and didn't want to ask her to stay through the whole meeting if we can skip to just introducing her. So Ms. Hartman, would you like to introduce her?
I would love to introduce her. So
Go ahead and stand
Bill,
up,
just
Ruby.
stand up. This is Ruby Eric. She has come down from Canada, actually. She spent almost her school years in Canada, and came down here to be with family, and approached us about being the after-school program coordinator, and she has been a blessing. She has done a great job. She's very artistic, I found out. And we're slowly moving forward with her, starting to take over and design a lot of the programs of what's happening. But I really want to just welcome her and thank her for coming forward to us and bringing a lot of great ideas and enthusiasm for the kids. So we really appreciate her. So
Nice to meet you all. Thank you for the opportunity. It's fun. It's all fun. I'm absolutely loving it. Kids are fantastic, and I really like the way the school is run. Like, that may sound like a weird thing to say, but things are run a lot differently up in Canada, and I love the way the after-school program. I can see the way it benefits all the kids, and even just in little ways. And I think that's just like an incredible thing to have, and it's definitely a blessing. And I appreciate the opportunity very much. So thank you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Welcome.
Yeah, Ruby has a ton of experience in running summer programs and weekend programs in her local community, and has done supervisory jobs in retail, and was really excited to have a chance to work at school. So
she did
thank
tell
you.
me that she was that she went home and immediately the first night said that she was really surprised that she gets paid to do this job. So I'm like, wow.
We got lots of volunteer positions.
Yes.
We have a radio.
Yeah, I was gonna say. How do you feel about radio, Ruby?
Thank you, Ruby. And you're not expected to stay all evening with us. I know you have lesson planning to be doing. So.
All right, thank you. Okay, now the student attendance agreement.
The information is attached. We have a student that is going to a neighboring district, and I recommend you approve the student attendance agreement.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Now, I thought he was gonna say no.
I thought he was saying that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the student attendance agreement as presented. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Now you're making me curious. Did I have a typo? No? Okay.
I was just waiting for Brad's commentary.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Approve the bus-
I did that to you one time. I wrote the
approve bus
wrong
maintenance
thing,
pay rate
remember?
for
That's what I thought was
2024 for Mr. Schindler.
I move to approve the wage increase for Mr. Schindler, 2023, 2024.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the pay rate at $16 per hour for Ed Schindler for the bus maintenance position. Is there any discussion?
Just a thanks to him for doing it so long, 15. And we're lucky to have him.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Approved contract with Macy Hensley, how do you say that?
Hinsey.
Hensley, for ASL interpreter services for 2023, 2024.
Macy's been really incredible, and we are very lucky to have interpreters at our school. We had Lorinda Stokey for a long time, and I talked her out of retirement once, but wasn't able to continue to do so. So we are very fortunate. You'll see Macy and April on here, and they work together. We also have another substitute even beyond that. So we're really fortunate. There's a lot of districts that don't have interpreters and pay an incredible amount to have people travel here from other places to provide an interpreter. So really thankful for these gals and the work that they do.
Is this full time for the entire week, or is it just 1 day a week, or?
They
They're in every day. One of the two at a time.
yeah, they take turns. Macy's still in education because there's different levels of interpreters. To be in a school, you have to be at level 4, and then you can. But there's which is a very hard level to reach. Level 4 is very extensive. So she's continuing her education, and that so she is not able to do every day. So that's where April comes in. So it's a daily rate that they turn in.
I don't know if you had a motion, so I don't know.
No, we don't.
Is there a reason we pay them different rates? Their hourly rate and their mileage rates are different.
I believe experience is qualification, I believe, just like many of the positions.
Even the mileage.
It's they're independent contractors, so it's what they proposed to us. And I did check with other schools, and we are doing well. I mean, they are within the guidelines of others in their field.
And I just can't emphasize enough how fortunate we are. A little history, I guess, maybe for, we learned a lot when we found out the need for this. It's not as easy as just somebody knowing sign language to come in and work with somebody. It's very, very difficult to achieve that, as Susie said, that level to work in a school and be an educational sign language interpreter. And there's very, very few of them, and there's very, very few places that have a program to educate those people. So, it's really just, very lucky that I'd say the vast majority of rural districts in Montana are unable to find one. And, we've been very lucky and very fortunate, and also just lucky that we have very good ones too. I mean, dependable and conscientious, and I feel like it's made a very good experience for the students they work with. So, yeah, that's kind of, I know it's a situation I know that I don't think we had ever dealt with in our district before, and we learned a lot going through the process, and we also get some consultation too from MSDB in Great Falls that provides us, and they kind of helped us get through this process of finding individuals that could help us with this. So, yeah, that was, we're really lucky where we are to have one.
But how many students use this service? How many students
We're-
use this service?
Yeah, we're not allowed to say because it's less than 10.
Okay. I mean, I'm not asking names, just the number.
So it
Correct.
becomes too easy to identify in a small community when you.
Interesting. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to jump. I was just.
No.
Anytime there's less than 10. So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Rock. That was a lot of great information. And they are much more than just doing the actual interpreting. I like how you explained that because they're really working with the teachers to see how they can make the educational material more accessible for that student. They're working with the special ed teachers. Brad does a good job of pulling his whole team together to make sure they're all supporting those students with information from the liaison, Katie, who we have at MSDB, to the interpreters, to the staff that are working with those students every day. So there's a whole structure that goes into that.
And they work hard. There's no, I mean, it's very, very interesting if you've ever, it's not just between the teacher and student, like if there's conversations between students, they help, because that if the student's working with one, they need access to all of those things that are really a part of education. So they don't, I don't know how they do it, really. It's really impressive. They're able to really just hone in and focus, and they've given us so many good tips on working with students that it's been very helpful to teachers and things that really might apply to a student that's not necessarily falls under that category, but that may have some impairment that, things would apply to. We've learned a lot. It's been a very good learning experience with those two here.
The lunch conversations and assemblies are really interesting to watch her try to keep track of everything that's going on and get that through to the students. So it's pretty incredible.
Is there any need for liability insurance or anything like that?
So we did talk about that today, and Casey is already on top of it. And we have the documents we need from some and not others. So she has already made those reach outs to those folks when we got their contracts. So thank you for inquiring. That was a great question today. And then, yeah, we are working, the Board of Public Ed and Paul Firthmeyer and I have been trying to get a program started in Great Falls for interpreters. Most of our interpreters come from Texas at this point. So there's really very few opportunities in the Northwest or Midwest in general for interpreters. So they're very far and few between.
I would add that also just having seen this with kids in the school, that it's going beyond just those individual students as well. And other students are learning a lot of skills from this to communicate with classmates without having the need of necessarily an interpreter every time. Just the interaction that they've been learning signs as well and created some passion there too. So,
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I move to approve both contracts for Macy Hines and April Gentry.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contracts with Macy Hines and April Gentry for the 2023-2024 school year. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Approve broadband board postcard to be sent home with students. I believe that's what Joe and
Yes. So, what you had in your packets originally, we found that there were some, errors on it or some things that need to be clarified further. So there were a couple changes to that versus what, the printout that I brought in front of you here. We added home to the whole thing so people know that this is something to be taken at home and not here. And then on the back of it, we've added contact information for the county. The importance of this from a school perspective, well, I guess first and foremost, the main reason why we've decided to come this avenue is because the timeline for people to get this done is very limited. It has to be done by the 22nd of September, which is coming very, very quickly. Then also from the perspective of the board, we feel it's a very important thing for the community and for the school district, and that having access to high-speed internet at home benefits everybody. And having this test done at home is critical for the county to get funding, and that's the big take home on this. That was the main reason why they decided to have me approach the school district for sending this home as something that families consider taking at home on their home internet, just so that we can hopefully garner some more funds to get fast internet at home. I am the board member of the broadband as well.
Your expense to something this out?
None for the school district. The county is basically, we've gotten funds elsewhere, not through the county, to get this done. And there's a board member that will be kind of bringing that whole process through.
I'm curious why this is coming to the board to approve.
Just because I think it's being sent home with the students, I guess.
Is that what the intent is? It's not for
Yes,
us to
correct.
mail it?
It's to send, it's just to be sent home with the students,
Okay.
yes.
Mhm. Just as because they're asking the parents to do something technological, and when you explained it to me, the students were going to show their parents how to do it on their own device. And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't the only person thinking that that was appropriate.
Well, I think we're also endorsing it, right? By putting your logo on the back and supporting it.
Correct, and I think a lot of that is just simply because I'm on the board and represent the school and the public library as two anchor institutions in the county. And yes, we are asking good graces to use the school logo on the back.
If anyone did this, do you automatically sign up for additional?
No,
No subscription.
it goes to all the data that's collected goes directly to the state. We, as the county, has no access to any of that information. Everything goes straight to the state. And they take it and then they'll compile that data, and then they'll actually send engineers out to the sites that come up as areas that are underserved based on a whole slew of criteria.
I move to approve, send this out with the students.
It's up to you guys.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the postcard to be sent out to homes and families through the students. Is there any discussion?
Do we need to double check policy that our logo can be on there? I don't remember the stipulations.
I don't think so. It's been used in school capacity, I guess.
So the only one that comes to mind, but I can verify, is, so you could even agree with, as long as it doesn't conflict with any of our policies, but the only one that I can think of is that our logo can't be involved in anything that also has like beer, liquor, gambling, political logos. And so the DOA, I don't think, I mean, it's a state agency, not political. So I think we're good.
He is the governor.
Not asking anybody to spend money or, yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly ask, the question.
I can do a quick
And we can
search
certainly
just for
take it off of
logos.
there if it would expedite things, just because of the nature of this having to go out so soon. I mean, if the board's more comfortable with it not being there, I can ask Roger to take it off. That's not an issue.
I would just recommend approval as long as there's no confliction with policy, and I can just get I can just look through the policies myself and make sure.
I think we could certainly justify it based on as we found out, we ran into so many issues and tried to help so many people with being underserved, and when we went to the shutdown, that I think it is serving a vital thing for the school to show that but yeah. Check.
Yeah, internet's obviously
Well, a lot of
a huge
internet.
component of the school district. But yeah, we could certainly run the question by, somebody real quick tomorrow morning. Okay. I think
Does this process benefit us by
100%.
like monetarily or
No.
just internet speed?
It benefits, I mean, the only monetary thing that would come back would be if we're awarded the monies that are involved with this whole process. And it's the county, it's not us, it goes to the county. I'm an advisor, our board's advisory, so we just advise the county up to this. So does that help?
So it won't reduce like our Montana internet bill?
It could.
It could.
Very, yes, it very much could.
We do
Having
have
more
Montana
competition
internet, by the
Having more
way.
competition in the area will drive the cost down. And there are stipulations on this broadband funding that to keep it at an affordable rate for everybody. If we're awarded it, the contractor has to keep it at a certain rate. So it'll ultimately help everybody.
an indirect benefit.
Yes, indirect.
Gotcha.
Any discussion?
We have a lot of opt-outs for information requests usually, and I just didn't know if there's anything within the school system as far as being, families opting out of receiving more or less marketing information.
No, I don't believe it falls. I don't think it falls under any of our opt-outs because, they can just toss it if they want, potentially. Good,
Yeah,
all
we're
good
giving
questions
information
then.
away, just the last clause about not being sold and us being tied back to it, I don't want to get sued over our third-party information actually gets used in some other way, it's eBay.
There,
Just a thought.
yeah. Thank you.
Discussion?
One last comment. There is a group that is wanting to help provide, a nonprofit that is wanting to help provide access to families, and they have asked to come and set up like on parent-teacher night or those kinds of things. So I'll talk to you more about that when I have more details from them.
Any more discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passed. Thank you. Thank you, Joe, for your information. Okay. Elementary school fence and other playground safety improvements. So we had a big meeting. Obviously, we've been talking about this since May, and we've had a couple meetings on it. I know Chase, when we left the last safety meeting, Chase was going to work on a number of different improvements, but Daniel called and asked if we could look at just working on the fence right now, since the fence seems to be the primary concern. And if we could at least get, a proposal redone now that we no longer, Mick Anderson is no longer really on site and in control. So that we could do that independent of them. So I'll hand it to Daniel real quick, because I know he the one reached out to fence crafters and presented the proposal that's in the packet.
Yeah, I contacted them here shortly after our last meeting, based off the discussion of if the current fence could be modified instead of being completely removed and rebuilt. They came back with there was several benefits to us contacting them, like Jason said, being outside of contract through Dave Anderson helps us that way. But also, they let me know that they can actually take down the current fencing fabric, be able to sleeve over the existing posts and bases, and then put a 6-foot fence back up onto there. Which obviously reduced costs. It also said they could also it affects contract time because it's work that could be done and after the ground freezes potentially if it was that far out. And it sounds like it's something that can be done in phases to where the school playground will still be able to be functional. As we're going through that process. So as it stays in here, it came back. By doing that, and then also the other big change, just wanted to see what the actual cost of it was, is with this current quote, it does not include the vinyl slats that were in there. I was curious to see what cost that added to it. By removing that and then it's basically retrofitting what's out there, the project cost down to $8,000, so it's been more than cut it in half.
And you added in that section, right, the 52-foot piece pad wasn't an original bid.
No, that 52 was included, though. I believe. There's 240 feet either way.
There was one bid prior to that had just 100 feet of that to go with that fire.
Yeah.
This is just replacing the fence. This doesn't have the netting by the hoops.
This would be, it would look like we took down the 4-foot fence and put up a 6-foot chain link fence. However, it wouldn't be a complete demo. It would just be modifying what's out there.
I think to address there's been some discussion that we can look at the hoops and possibly about lowering the hoop. That might also resolve some of the issues we're having with the walls going on, because right now they're extremely high and kids can't shoot them that high. So looking at maybe if we can lower those, then the kids can maybe make more of them and won't have as many of them on the road.
People have better to get one. We got a.
Yeah. It's more gaps.
The only thing I would like to look at, I know this is focusing on the existing is I know Daniel has kind of come over and kind of walk through out there and look at maybe coming across this doors over here to kind of close that off so that people can't access the playground from the library.
Christina, after your comment last meeting, I went out, absolutely, we've got to move that over because that's just, we're asking for shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, and I think Daniel and I stood there and kind of looked at it. I think there's a way to do it to where we don't have to worry about hitting sprinkler lines or anything, that we could actually cut across. It would also get the kids away from a tree that we'd like to get away from, as well as all of the wiring that's in the corner of the building over here. So where we could just go back, I don't know if it's just a few feet off the building and cut across the sidewalk and up to the double doors. It just leaves a side door over here that used to go to a courtyard that I don't know if it can just be locked or what we can do with it to keep it where people can't go out that side door, but it would just eliminate the issue in that corner as well.
So this part of the fence doesn't go all the way to the building?
This, in this picture it is, but this doesn't include cutting across that sidewalk to close off these doors.
Just a slight modification to this. I looked at it with Daniel, I think that's a really good idea. There were a lot of kids coming out that side door today after school. I don't know.
Because we have a group that have STEAM classes.
Just,
here. Yeah, so right now they go out that, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
They can go through the other part,
Yeah, I
they just
think
go.
that modification, like Jay says, more than beneficial to do that. So I don't know if you I don't know if you can authorize up to a certain dollar amount. Like the bid's 8,000.
Right, it's gonna add a few more feet
Right.
down, so we need to.
Right, so could you do a $10,000 authorization, or do you need?
Yeah, we usually do a contingency of,
10%?
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it would come back probably just as a change order.
I guess, Travis, your repair out there, basically, do you have any concerns about going up to 6 feet or?
I think as far as 6 feet on the chain link fence, that's great, but there's still the runaway car issue. I mean, we are still as exposed can be, even with that chain link fence.
So, and again, thank you. There's 3 options that I'm looking at putting together, and all 3 involve a 6-foot high fence. So we can still move forward with this part of it, but the other options are, do we put some type of aesthetic Canta block with, something for those reasons that you pointed out. So I am looking into getting bids together for that, so.
Yeah, I think that would be a big step towards.
And that's why
making
we're
things a little
moving
safer.
forward with, putting this in the agenda, because I know those 2 things aren't tied to one another. Like,
Yeah.
doing the fence doesn't prevent us from doing that, and vice versa.
Christina, a question though, do we still, if we move this over here, are we still gonna need a gate over here for kids? Is that needed to get?
Well,
into
that was
the-
something that I think if your fire marshal, I think that's something kind of discuss with your fire marshal and whether you have a gate there or not. Or if we don't have the fence go to the corner of the building and we bring it back so that if anyone comes out those doors, they can just cut next to the building and get out. But I think there is something with fire marshal you'd have to consider with that.
I think there's an opportunity as well for the facilities committee to maybe be able to take a look at ultimately what the best design would be out there too. Because I mean, we could present a lot of different ones tonight, but I think that's, and at that point in time, they could probably give the fire marshal that and be able to look and see if that's what would best work.
Would it be possible right after this meeting if we just all go out there, so we're all sitting sheet music of where the fence needs to be and whatnot, agree, is that copacetic to you, or we do that right now, or just on this part right here?
I would like to see it.
Yeah, we can certainly, I think, just look at it probably afterwards on the way out, and then relay that information to the committee that'll continue it.
I can certainly.
Go get us some flashlights. Just joking. I'm just teasing.
We all do. Let's do it.
Can I pose one suggestion? I know this is kind of not fence related, but it's related to this whole deal here. One thing that I've noticed being I park over here all the time and crossing that crosswalk, it seems like inherently I come out of the building and there's always somebody coming the other way. And having a speed bump in this mess would probably help slow down people on that whole stretch a little bit. I've noticed people just come flying through their kids at lunchtime especially. And I think it would be completely appropriate.
It's a good comment.
Lisa?
I guess the one you were talking about, maybe doing away with one of the gates here. My one question is, in a case of emergency and having to get kids off of a playground and only having one exit.
No, we're not getting rid of it.
No.
Okay,
I misunderstood then.
Yeah, I can clarify that for you. It would be leaving the two existing gates. The issue that we're looking at is, people can enter through the library here, walk down this hallway and walk out onto the playground.
Okay.
It would be adding an additional gate in front of those doors.
Oh, okay.
Potentially, if that's.
Okay, I misunderstood. I apologize.
Mr. Chairman.
No, it's okay. I was just thinking.
I would move to improve the safety with the modifying the existing fence to a 6-foot fence without the vinyl at current price with a 10% or I don't know, $2,000 contingency based off of adjustments that may be needed. I don't know if that's the right way to put that.
In fencing, do you think that's enough, depending on?
Yeah, based on the initial bid.
Okay.
Changing that, I don't think.
Well, but that might take putting in more posts.
It would take a couple more hours.
It wouldn't take much, so it's not very long.
Okay.
It's like,
I just don't want to have to call a special meeting for $5 or something.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the proposal for increasing the current fence to a 6-foot fence and allowing some contingency for modification in addressing the library doors. Feel like it's-
Close enough.
You make
We
that
got it. It's horseshoes.
Any further discussion? Discussion?
Just that it's not over. That's the only comment I would have. So this solves one of the 2 or 3 issues, so just that it's not totally, to Chase's point, it's not totally over in terms of what we're gonna do next for rocks or barricades or bollards or whatever.
This is a huge part of it though, just for
Yep,
I know the paras and stuff on that playground, that this will be a huge assistance and that's obviously that this door will have to, so we appreciate it.
Based on that comment, I would like to just briefly say, I do appreciate the pairs coming in, obviously Travis tonight, but also last meeting. There was a lot of, I was going back and forth on the different ideas and certainly the staff coming in and expressing their concerns was really, very definitely helpful to helping.
Yeah.
One last thing, just want to mention, another thing that the gals didn't say, they have some great ideas that they had in the proposal to you guys. But they were very humble. They did talk about helping out at recess as well, which is awesome. And also any of our organizations in the community or parent volunteers, we can always use more folks at recess to help with the safety components. So we're working on that and getting more coverage out there. And I know and appreciate Chase's phone call today with some of the safety questions and know that we still want to have further discussion on other safety components. And so we'll continue to have it on the agenda and potentially even go into a closed session in October so that we can talk about some of our detailed evacuation plans that are not for public knowledge, which were also brought up during our bus discussions at the bus barn today. So just thank you all for your ongoing efforts and expertise that you bring to the safety discussion.
I guess one thing I want to add is we need to give some guidance to the clerk on where these funds are going to come from. Because obviously they cannot come out of general fund budget funds because that is pretty well taken care of already. So it likely either has to come out of the metal mine or the flex fund, would be my
Metal Mines.
No mind, okay.
That's what my recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know it nearly as well.
But those are funds that, you know, do not, you know, are not tied to things already. So that Metal Mines is the most appropriate one, I think, that where that money will have to come. Okay, just so Casey and Pam understand that that's what the board is intending. Okay. Any further discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Thank you, Daniel, for your work on that. I know Chase, you're working on that too, so appreciate that. Request for records disposal. This is another one of those things that just has to be done.
Is there a record retention schedule?
There is.
We have to do every time.
Thanks, Travis.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Just like whenever we want to throw garbage away, like a million pink desks today.
Mhm.
And there's
We'd
an
like to see
open
it back.
garage over there if anyone wants to pick up any of our remaining garbage.
Oh, she's not kidding.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
yeah. Go grab a desk.
I'll move to remove or discard or dispose.
Sorry, I just
No.
got very off on a tangent there.
It does seem silly that I
Been
have to ask.
moved and seconded to approve the records disposal as presented. Is there any discussion?
Actually, I didn't get the second.
It was
Oh my
Daniel.
gosh, you too. All right.
I got off.
You guys sound
Topic
alike.
over here.
You sound alike.
Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
It's the two Jasons.
Yeah.
All right, moving into personnel. We have a couple of resignations.
So we have assistant basketball coach Kirk Flynn. Just so thankful for all of his dedication to the school district and work that he's done with our basketball team. And I want to give Miss Heverin a chance. Did you want to say anything, Miss
Yeah,
Heverin, or
just
anyone
that,
else?
Kirk's just been amazing. He's been a part of our basketball program for many, many years. Has built some wonderful relationships with students and coaches, and we just, greatly appreciate him serving in this role for all of these years, and completely understand why he feels the need to, open it up for someone else to step in at this time period. So we greatly appreciate all of his dedication, and I know he won't be far away. We will still be seeing him frequently, I'm sure.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right.
Yeah, I would add the same thing. I appreciate, both of my boys got to play when Kirk was coaching. He brought a lot to those teams and to that relationship that all those players, coaches have. He was a very vital part of that program. And so, yeah, I appreciate his time. I tried to talk him out of it several times.
We all did.
I tried to convince him it was like jury duty. Once you're on the list, you can't.
We all tried.
And I guess we want to do the other one at the same time.
Yeah, so also we had a paraprofessional, Melissa Sims, and she figured out with her schedule it would work better to be a substitute. So she is on the second. So she's resigning as full-time para and asking to be in a substitute role of paraprofessional. So if you would approve those resignations, please.
I'll move to approve the resignations as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the resignations as presented. Is there any discussion?
Just like you guys said, thanks to Mr. Flynn and his family as well. It's never easy when you have to be away from your family all the time. And, I know it has some impacts on his family. Just thanks to him and his family.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Employment.
Okay, so I have to read some of these up off the phone. So I've got it pulled up here. We have some to add, so someone might want to take notes if you would. So for substitute paraprofessional, we have Melissa Sims. For 21st Century After School Friday Summer Site Coordinator, we have Ruby Eric. For after school program, we have Carson Sangre, Jaslyn Martin, Marley Wellenstein, Kendra Thompson, Jenna Smucker, Samuel Flesh, Coda Core, and Gavin Nelson.
Get all that.
No. She's like.
Forward that.
Jaslyn, yeah, I should just
And
forward
many
this
more.
to you.
Yes.
I could forward it to whoever has to make the motion too. Okay.
I got Jaslyn because I met her.
Do you want me to forward it to you, somebody? You got it.
It'll be in a minute.
Okay. Oh, that's true. They don't have to read them off. Thank you. Okay. Then for paraprofessionals, I don't have anyone at this time, correct? Okay, we have been working on it. We're interviewing. KitchenAid, we have Ashley Quintar. And track coach, we have Angie too. High school track coach.
Has she done middle school before?
She's been an assistant.
Oh, okay.
Assistant high school track coach.
For a couple of years.
She's been for like 16,
18.
18.
A couple of years, yeah.
I knew it was a couple. It's a couple. Okay, is there a motion for those hires?
I'll move to approve the hires as presented for the 2023-2024 school year, pending successful background checks.
When do those get run?
The background checks. So if this is a little bit tricky to say. I'm trying. So we process the fingerprints right away. We usually ask them to turn the fingerprints in with the application. They do have to pay $5 to get their fingerprint card done, and then we send them in. However, it is a fee for the district of
$30
$30
per person.
$30 per person. So if we have multiple applicants, sometimes we wait until we decide, who we're going to move forward with. If we only have one applicant and we're in a time crunch or something like that, we might go ahead and send it off right away. So either way, we send it off pretty quickly, and sometimes we have them back within the time of hire, and sometimes it takes 2 weeks, 3 weeks. If we do have them start before we have the background check, they have to be with another adult. They have to be supervised. Basically, they can start training, but they can't be left alone at all with students at any time.
So these after-school program folks will be with someone until they're fully vetted? Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
And they're high school anyway, so they would be with adults anyway.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Go to the high school kitchen interviews.
I'll second it.
Still use second.
Thanks.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hires as presented for the 2023-2024 school year pending successful background checks. Is there any discussion? Discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passed. Okay, so we still had a bunch of those policies that we've kind of been moving down the road, but I felt like we needed to at least start chipping away at them. So we have 2 of those policies in our packet tonight, 3150 and 4410. And let's see.
No, I felt that these were pretty straightforward. These are definitely out of legislative necessity. And I got them mixed up somewhere here in my packet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My packet's all over, as you can tell. So the part-time attendance is very basic. It's required, and we have been following this since it got put into place. We actually were already heading in this direction, and just trying to work with families to make sure we helped them in their child's journey to education last year before this went into place. So we are already meeting this, just want to make sure we get it formally adopted on second reading. And so that is one thing on our recommended motion. We want to move to approve these 2 policies as presented on second reading because you already.
Actually, no, because we didn't. These are part of the ones that were on that first list, correct?
which is second reading, because you approved the whole combined packet from MTSBA on first reading with Chris Goss, if I'm correct.
We went one by one, the ones that had insert this, insert that, we held up for further discussion, different day.
That, I thought that was at our meeting for second reading, because those other ones that we approved are already fully approved first and second reading. I can look it up though.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I see what you're saying. Because it says.
Because these are changes though. Because these are the ones they sent us that are updates to what we already approved, so. We did those last ones. too.
You're correct.
Yeah, so this is first reading.
Yes, I apologize. Thank you. This is not part of the first packet.
Correct.
These are the legislative update ones.
This is first reading.
So this is first reading. Thank you. Sorry, I got that mixed up with our policy work. Okay, so there's nothing controversial or up for question on this. It is what it is. We need to adopt it to be in line with the current regulations and laws. And then as far as our 4410 relations with law enforcement and child protective agencies, I just want to say our utmost thank you. We have a great relationship with our law enforcement and child protective agencies. We did talk to Sheriff Rouser. Sherry and I happened to have a conversation with him, and Miss Harris. I know, I'm trying to remember his, is it deputy? Undersheriff, thank you. Undersheriff Harris in the hall, because they're here regularly and consistently. So we had a great conversation with them this week about moving towards potential SRO officer. And Chase and I were talking about some safety grants today. And one of those does align with funding for an SRO, and it comes open this spring. So that's pretty exciting. And then one of them was more for the physical and cyber safety. So I know that those were a couple things that we talked about today. And I did. Yeah, and they were also working on funding. So hopefully that can be a collaboratively funded position. And so I did send Sheriff Rouser and Board Member Reagan some more information on these grants that came from the website that Board Member Reagan sent to us. And these are a couple, the STOP grant, which I know Danes is a huge supporter of and does helps with the SRO model, and a lot of great things was on that website that you sent out to all of us, and as well as the COPS model, which helps with technology training and physical safety components. And those are both expected to open in March. So we will keep working on those grants, as well as another school safety grant website that I found. Sorry, I thought we were going to talk about that earlier and we didn't make it there. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. So this is pretty basic, just says that we work closely with our law enforcement and child protective agencies. And so I think these are ready to go and approve.
Move to approve policy 3150 and 4410 as presented.
Sorry.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to approve policy 3150 and 4410 as presented on first reading. Is there any discussion? Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passed. I believe we are on for principal's report.
So our staffing in numbers, so we are at 340 currently with K5. We are holding to our district goals of keeping our classrooms at nice sizes, so we're not capped out anywhere where we have been in the last couple of the last 2 years. Either capped out or over, so that's really nice this year, which has made our classroom setting, I think, a lot stronger for some of our students and things having those smaller numbers and not over capacity. We have our mentoring program already started. We had our first meeting in the elementary yesterday. I want to thank Chris Gillespie, Lisa Larson, and Maggie Ballinger for being our mentees this year. We've already started, had that one meeting, and I have one of them already pushed into the classroom. And part of the program is they'll build what the needs are based on what those teachers' needs are, and staff members, but also like I made it very clear to them, this is not for them to like have a tattling session on or anything. This is just to help them with any skills or anything they might need assistance with, or learning our school, to those simple things that we take it for granted that they know everything's happening in our school, like after sales or anything that we're involved in throughout the school year. So they have that person they can go to and get answers and assistance. So we started that, and we'll build that throughout the school year. We'll have a couple of meetings, luncheons, and have a team, and build it from there on their needs. We also have the PAC program, like I stated, that we have. With that, we have PAC partners. And I want to thank Stephanie Pryor and Alicia Strada for volunteering to do those. They will get a stipend from the program to do this PAC partners, which basically like they're a leader. And so they'll actually be the staff members that will go a step further with the program. And they have a whole list of responsibilities that they'll need to do. Part of that is reviewing the program with the staff at the meetings, making sure everyone's on, following the program with fidelity, helping with some questions, and as well as bringing in the family piece like Stephanie has brought to you today. So they'll be part of that. I've already talked about fifth day and after school program, but if you have any questions, always reach out, or Daniel will stop by the first one. He's always welcome to come by and see what it's about. So.
I did too.
But yeah, you're welcome to come by anytime. I do try and get those schedules out, where you got today's out. I'm trying to get it out at the beginning of the week, and then hopefully we'll get a routine and reality a month at a time, so I can have that ahead of time. And then we have our first PLC coming up on September 22nd. Elementary is moving to a new benchmark testing system. And so that's our testing that we use. The kids take 3 times a year. It gives us data on where kids are sitting as far as where their skills, where they might need assistance in skills, where they sit in their reading levels, things like that. And kindergarten been using FastBridge because STAR did not go down to kindergarten, but STAR just wasn't giving us the data that we were looking for. And so kindergarten had really liked FastBridge. We actually were going to move to FastBridge back in 2020, right? Mm-hmm. And we actually had training set for March 16th of 2020, and then we shut down. So it kind of put it on the back burner, and now we're finally there at the end, where even after the team did some more research, they still felt FastBridge was our best option to move forward in a new benchmark system. So we have 4 trainings, so the next 4 PLCs in the mornings, the elementary staff will be getting trained in the new benchmark program. And then we have our first parent-teacher conference coming up October 3rd.
Okay, questions?
We'd like to thank all of the teachers and staff and everybody that just kind of helped us get school off to a really smooth start. It was one of the better, I guess, starts that I've had as far as schedules working out, everything just kind of falling into place the way it should. That was the real magic show. We have really, we're crowded, obviously. We're back up. Actually, our enrollment's even a little higher than it was last year by a couple students. And so some of our class sizes are not exactly where we want them, especially a couple of exploratory classes that we have 7th period with kind of limited space, but the teachers have done a great job with it. They're making everything work. I appreciate all the efforts that they put in. The rest of our class sizes are, we have 3 sections in most of them, so we're at anywhere from, and it's not as easy in the middle school, it's just putting 3 equal sections, because we have certain places, kind of like the high school, where, if a student's in this and they can't be in that, so you end up with some bigger bubbles through. But it's worked really well. The daily schedule has really been a non-factor. I know there was some concern with the length of the day and the length of the periods, and really it's been really a non-factor for us. In fact, I think maybe it's been a little more productive with the extra few minutes on each class, which is really what it boiled down to, is just a few minutes each period. We ran into the trouble again of trying to fit we have an advisory in the middle school that's really important to us. And with that advisory period, we try to do it once a week for about 20 minutes to a half hour. So at one time we used to have a special advisory on Fridays. And then, because we have to go on the same schedule the high school does, so we just kind of fitted it somewhere else. We decided to take the last day of the week, regardless of whether it's a Thursday or a Friday, and use the bulldog time on that day as our advisory. And what they do in that advisory is they work with, we combine 6th, 7th, and 8th graders as the same advisor all the way through, the same teacher all the way through middle school with 8th graders, leaving put more 6th graders in there. And we do a lot of, we use it to do some of our community service around school. We do campus cleanup days. We do, sometimes each advisory will take a different project. We help stock the food bank, work with the Lions Club to do all their Easter eggs for the things. We do that. We also do a lot of team competitions in there, and group competitions, try to develop teamwork and just kind of have some fun with the kids. We had a fit day where we have a lot of advisory competitions scheduled for Friday, and it rained, so yeah, and then of course tell the kids are going back to class instead of going down to the park. That went over well. So we will try to reschedule that with them, but it's a fun thing, and I think it's important. Another thing we do is we take 2. I probably told you guys all this before, but we try to take 2 of the lessons a month, and we, as a group, come up with character things we want to work on with our students. And so 2 of them are lessons, and then 2 of them are more team building activity type things. So that's a good thing. I want to see it continue, and every year we just got to kind of find a place to squeeze it in. But that's how we're doing it this year. And staffing needs, we're doing pretty well. It still could use some para help in certain situations, but other than that, things are rolling pretty good. It's been a very good start to the school year. So that's it. We'll have our first grade check tomorrow. We have a 2-week eligibility policy in the middle school. So tomorrow will be our first grade check with students. And hopefully that goes well. We do it that way. It's designed to be kind of a motivating factor and to help kids keep from getting too far behind. If they pass again in 2 weeks, they're back in. They continue to practice the whole time through. And then football will finally get their first game. They've had some scheduling issues, just the school's backing out. It's been frustrating for them, but they're ready to roll. They're well practiced. Ready to go.
Any questions for Brad? The middle school sports, Brad, did they flip-flop with basketball this year?
So they do. I can't, it seems like they're on a 2-year cycle where they do it, but yes, they do flip this year. So I believe it is girls first. Yeah. Well, not sure, but yeah, I think they flip. Okay. Sure. And excuse me, I do believe we're still looking for a middle school girls basketball.
Okay, I'll make sure that's on the vacancies. I haven't updated vacancies. Was that on the one I drafted, you guys? Okay. I'm sending out an updated one tomorrow, so if there's
One
anything
door,
else.
it was on there.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, so, yeah, just to echo, I feel, I and the staff feel it's just been an excellent smooth start, all things considered. I too just want to really thank the high school staff for their dedication, their flexibility, their thinking outside of the box. We had to make a ton of schedule changes and like duties, get, classes covered and things we could offer, and the students for that matter too. I mean, they arrived at school and their schedules didn't look anything like what most of them did when they started in the summer. So I'm just very grateful and thankful for that. Staff and student morale feels very high overall and very positive. Those are always really good things. It's been a great transition. As always, when we made the transition to 4-day, we know we're going to encounter some schedule things and some time shifting things. And now, like, oh geez, we didn't consider that. But it seems like people are willing to be flexible and work on solutions. And just honestly, it's been really great. All are engaged, students and staff. Really feeling that everybody wants to be here and doing what we do, and it just feels like it's nice. It's a good atmosphere. We obviously looking at those PLC days too. I had a staff meeting with the high school today. We're actually really kind of looking forward to having that time together to work on some things that we think are important for our building, pacing calendars, transitions to the 4-day week with curriculum and how we're going to pace that and things that we need to focus on and work on as a group. I've pretty much finished my goals meetings. Instead of having staff fill out just goals sheet, I actually sit down with them and we have a conversation for about 15 minutes during their prep one day. I love those. Those have become something that I just really look forward to, sitting down with them one-on-one and feeling their energy and their excitement, and obviously all of us working together to solve any issues that we might have or come up with some good ideas together. So on that first PIR day, we are going to talk a lot about examples of pacing calendars and how we can make sure we're shifting our curriculum. It's an overriding thing with all the stuff that's in their goals. I want to make sure I'm covering what I need to cover and in a very in-depth manner, and maybe getting rid of things that we don't need necessarily to cover. An interesting statement I heard at a conference this summer was stop teaching kids things that they can Google in 5 minutes. Do a deeper dive into the content of how you can use that information they can find on their own. So very interesting idea and thought. With that, we're excited to get together, maybe do some department work, like getting the math teachers together, getting the CTE teachers together, getting all of these different folks together to be able to work on these things and have that time to do so. So we're kind of really looking forward to that, quite honestly, I think as a whole. Let's see, what else? I kind of wanted to just give you guys, this is a really, rudimentary, rough spreadsheet, but Mike and I worked together, Mr. Schnick and I worked together I know we've had some inquiries and some things going on, obviously, until we got kids slotted and signed up and put into their classes, and we just didn't have a lot of answers for some of that yet. So again, very initial start. We're still going to work on refining. We're super excited, and I think the kids are excited about some of the new things that we've obviously been talking about and trying to roll out and improve in our high school curriculum, utilizing the staff that we have and filling some holes that we might have in certain areas. So, you guys can look at the numbers. These are just, I kind of have a broken semester 1, semester 2. Obviously, we don't know the answers to a lot of semester 2 yet. Some kids are signed up in certain areas, but we don't, kids will change and we'll add several. As far as early college credit goes, we really did kind of a soft rollout. We learned a lot in 2 weeks, let me tell you, about how this works. And we obviously missed some deadlines that we didn't know we had to have kids signed up, because we assumed it was the same as like Montana Digital Academy. They usually start in September. For early college, yeah, not so much. So we did have limited choices of where we could go, but we were really, really excited and happy that MSU Billings actually was wide open to us. They had a lot of really great classes. We have 7 students right now taking early college credit classes, so they're going to get college credit for their intro to business. We have kids doing a couple of other, I'm trying to remember what's social issues, some of the basics that you would take at an early college level that they can have under their belt before they ever leave our building. So that's really great. Now that kids are seeing that, what this looks like, and even the staff's excited about too, because it kind of ups the game for them too. They're getting to teach on a different side of things and looking at those as well. MTDA, we definitely expanded our Montana Digital Academy. We kind of started that last year with some original credit classes, and this year we know because we did not fill the Spanish refill the Spanish teaching position, we had kids in Spanish, so we had to figure out what we're doing. So they are in basically original credit. So I put original credit, including the Spanish students. We've got 7 of them in there. So we have 10 kids taking original credit. We have 6 kids doing recovery credit, meaning they, failed a semester of, math or science or English or whatever, and they're recovering those credits this way so they can stay on track. We did have 2 students successfully complete credit recovery this summer. So thanks to Mr. Schnicken and everybody for getting that one, and Ms. Bancroft for stepping into that role this summer. Every kid that recovers a credit that we can keep them on track towards graduation, that's a success. We take that as a win. So we're happy with that. They did a good job with that. And then we currently, again, as you guys know, we expanded the work release program within the proper bounds for, MHSA requirements and the state requirements, how many hours kids have to be in school. We have 13 kids taking advantage of that. Some of them, we only have 2 right now that are periods 5 through 7. So these are juniors and seniors. The seniors that are on, we have 2 seniors that are on track. They decided they wanted to work. Those periods are not necessarily taking, any of like physics or any of those. That's not their track. They're going to go to work and finish and maybe do vocational type education things outside of high school. So I know TK's Garage has one of them, and he works from noon on with Keith Hartnett, learning how to, mechanic sides of things, and then he's very happy. He comes to school, he does his credits, and then goes to work. And so I think it's going to be a really good thing. We have Mr. Odell overseeing kind of the nuts and bolts of that, in addition to his AD duties, those couple of periods that he's got in his AD duties. He's also volunteered to try to help us monitor the work release kids. We definitely stepped up the requirements and the accountability on the student side and the employer side of these kids are here, they are working, they're going to fill out time cards. And so I'm excited for how this looks for our kids. We also still are down the road of the dual credit and AP. Mr. Schindel, as many of you know, still does the combined AP Chem and Physics. It's basically listed as physics or an advanced senior class, but he does facilitate the AP test, which also means they can get college credit for that and not have to take that. They can get credit for it and not have to take it as an initial college class when they start their freshman year. And we do have kids that are successful every year getting that done. Dual credit algebra right now, we have 4 in there, and then, we have some projections. A lot of that will change. And as you can see, the dual credit gets a little heavier second semester, and I'm sure Susie will have some to add to this too. I did meet before school started with the rep from Gallatin College, and she was excellent. We had met with her in May as a staff, anybody who can maybe flesh out some of our classes that we already offer into dual credit, so kids are taking them anyways, but they can also get that dual credit component with that. So we have the opportunity to add potentially dual credit advanced drafting, dual credit accounting, dual credit nutrition and wellness, potentially dual credit welding. As you guys can see, those are all kind of our CTE programs that we have, and that's what they can facilitate with us. She's working with these teachers this fall to get them on board and get everything in place that they need so that we can start this hopefully second semester. That's our goal. So lots of moving and shaking in the high school, but it's all good things, and the kids are pretty excited about it. They're really, they're loving the flexibility, they're loving the choice, they're loving the opportunity to be able to do that at those upper level grades. So going well here. We are also in the throes of homecoming week planning. We just can't start early enough on this because it's a whole week of a lot of organized activities. Mrs. Lampman and Student Council does a great job with that. We put a survey out to the teachers. Some things will look different this year just out of necessity because of we don't have school that Friday and different things that we're going to have to negotiate and figure out. Lots of great ideas. We'll be rolling out a plan soon. We definitely, the two writing things that I hear from staff and students alike is, encouraging and bringing in more community involvement and interaction with students in the community as far as homecoming goes. Maybe going out, working with businesses to try to represent some things for homecoming, inviting the community to come join us in the parade instead of just what we've, in the past, what we've done, making that a little broader and more wide for that. So stay tuned for lots of fun homecoming week planning coming up. And yeah, you guys can see the activities. Quarter one midterm is ridiculously next week already. And which I don't even know how that's possible. That seems like that's just crazy. And then fair teacher conferences. And then I did throw homecoming week on there so you guys know what week that is. The week of October 9th. So yeah, going well.
Have you got any feedback from the teachers with the 4-day school week? Just like the comment about midterm, it's hard to believe too. Is anyone saying that kids are falling behind or we're not keeping up? Or is there any comments like that? Or is everyone on track? Or?
Yeah, so far, no. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people are asking, people want to know how it's going, how we think. And honestly, this is really our first week to really be kind of in the rotation of the 4 days, because, we started on a Wednesday, we had holidays. We've gone to school 2 Fridays, so we haven't really started a true 4-day week schedule until this week. So, but I'm not hearing in my goals meetings with teachers and that, I'm not hearing any of that. Actually, students seem super engaged and seem to be staying on track. Of course, we're going to have our issues with keeping kids caught up and things like that. But I think the staff is really highly tuned into that, and they're being very diligent and watching for that just to make sure that we aren't leaving anybody behind, so to speak, and that we're keeping kids caught up. So I'm not hearing any of that as an issue yet. So hopefully we don't.
Thanks. Yeah, backtrack, just to Christine, I guess I intended to ask, as far as the students, the younger kids. I know, like she said, we haven't been in it very long, but are you seeing struggles, much impact of the longer day at this point?
These two can talk more about it, but I have not. Honestly, with the little ones, really have not. I know this Monday morning, we had some kids that were pretty tired, and I don't know if that's just everyone played really hard over the weekend, but for throughout the week though, we're not. The staff was really good about, we talked about creating pacing guides, and so they got on those right away, at least to get this first quarter planned out so that they could make sure that everyone did stay on track. And so they jumped on that right away, and keeping the kids engaged and on track with everything. And we're not seeing anything.
Good.
The high school almost died when their lunch didn't start till 12:18. So we made it. We made it through the first 3 days. Now they're okay.
I felt that same way.
That might as well be some trust me. No, they all. I know. No, they adapted really well. And now it just seems like that's our norm. This is what we do.
And that works out for elementary too. I know we had to bump some lunch schedules.
Actually, our lunch is about the same. Yeah, ours didn't really change a whole lot. Theirs changed just because of the minutes for their class.
I just meant that condensing, there's some condensing that happened. They're not getting through.
Oh, no, that's just because they don't know their numbers in the beginning, and so we have this.
We always program.
We always have
I
this
just had a
plan.
complaint from an individual in my family.
Yeah, no, yes, and it's just something where those routines that we forgot to engage right away that normally kindergarten doesn't put their numbers in. We have like one class practice, and then we slowly bring in the other. Same with first grade, because they always forget them. And so once we like, oh, yep, we gotta bring that back, do it again, and now everyone gets through the line. We're just good.
Thank you. Ms. Heather.
I'm gonna try to keep mine super short because we still have a bit to go and it's getting late. But we do have we have been interviewing for the counselor position. A final decision has not been made, and in the meantime, even today we got 2 additional applications that were licensed counselors. So we're going to keep working on that. In the meantime, I appreciate everyone that's stepping up to help write the 504 plans. Mr. Rock's doing the middle school, and we're still working those out. Just kind of some of those technicalities. And then Mr. Schnicken has offered, and crisis if he needed to speak with a student to do so, but we're not having the classroom instruction component in place. So I want to say thank you to everyone involved and Casey for making these beautifully organized binders that each administrator is going to have, and we'll have one for the board meetings. It has the updated staff handbooks and CBAs. So the classified and certified handbook and CBA both. So we can reference and look up those. And then they were all emailed out to the teachers. And then again, during our tech meeting today, we made that a priority to get those updated on the website. So got that taken care of and have those all refreshed and in line with our policy. So we're hoping things are on the up and up with all of that. We scheduled our first fire drill and our earthquake drill. So we have our first 2 drills scheduled, and Mr. Bowman is making progress on the activities meeting requests of information, kind of research we needed to find out for baseball. So I think we probably need to bring that back to another activities committee meeting because there's people just kind of wondering where it's at. So I've been a part of those conversations, and now that there's more answers, told him that I'd talk to you guys about the next step in that process, probably coming back to the activities committee with those answers that he got.
Is that still an option for spring? I can't remember.
I don't believe there was a deadline that I was aware of for this fall. I'm not sure what, I'd have to reference MHSA. Yeah, I don't know of a deadline. Good question. So that would be a good thing to know. And kind of like you said, just like when we were talking about the radio thing, the city said they'd love to see the field used, and yes, go ahead, but we'd probably need to get that in more formal documentation, those kinds of things. So I think that we just need to take that to the next step since more information has been found out. And same things, just appreciate all the awesome work, and I've had a blast being in the classrooms when I can, and we've gotten our first, some of our first of the school year reports turned into the state on time, and all of those items have been running well. So.
And we have our bus evacuation drills are all day tomorrow, so if you
Yep.
want to join us during some fun evacuation.
Yes.
What are you doing?
It's not the police department.
Oh, that was always the joke. Your bus driver.
Oh,
Got off the
man.
bus fast enough, you know, got donuts.
Oh, really? No, I don't know.
Yeah, so things have gone great. I agree. It's been a smooth start to the school year, and appreciate all the staff and everyone jumping in.
Just a big thank you to everybody, administrators, staff. Getting this plane flying after such a late decision by the board to get you to that point, it's really hats off to all of you, the flexibility, adaptability. I know it's not easy to make that big of a change. So thank you to all of you for your efforts, making the investment to go over and above to try and make sure that it works.
Okay, as noted on the agenda, the board is going to engage with the superintendent kind of in a pre-evaluation. This will not replace the annual evaluation in January, but I have determined that the next matter to come before the board for consideration involves a matter of individual privacy. Further, the demands of individual privacy in this matter clearly exceed the merits of public disclosure. Therefore, I'm declaring this portion of the meeting will be closed in accordance with section 2-3-203 3 ACA. We'll take a quick break to get the camera shut down.
You don't need to bring those over.
Take a break
I'll
in a
just
minute.
tell them. I forgot about it. It's fine.